Welcome back to the Carp Angler Chronicles podcast. We have got a special guest for you today, bit of a carpy London geezer that goes by the name of Tommy Bishop. He's actually got a lot of nicknames as well. Tommy Bish, Machine Gun Tommy, Tommy the Gun, Tommy with the Big Gun Tommy. Really well. He's one of those guys that just wears his heart on his sleeve, and I'm sure that you'll warm to him just as quickly as I have. So I first came across the gun whilst I was on Instagram, and I was immediately drawn to his unique photography and awesome captures. He's got a very, very unique style, not only to his photography, but to him as an individual. So I'd definitely urge you check him out on Instagram. His handle is Tommy_Bish. So this episode, we talk about his recent adventures on a pit. We talk about a few of his captures, how he's managed to get amongst the A-team. We just talk about loads of different carpy stuff. So I hope you enjoy. And without further ado, here is Tommy Bishop.
Cool, blimey. At the end of the school year, kids would go out with all the teachers and they would do like horse riding, fishing being one of them, like going skiing on the dry slopes like near me and things like that, like proper like activities day. And obviously I chose fishing sort of thing. And we went to Riverside Road, which is in St Albans, which is actually where I caught my first ever carp. And like we went there one year and literally fell in love with it. It was sick. Like I absolutely loved it sort of thing. But basically it's a bit of a like a deep story, but I don't want it to be like like, oh yeah, everyone feels sorry for me sort of crack. But basically in school, I got badly bullied, like proper badly bullied. And like, I mean, school being school, they tried to help as much as they could, but obviously teachers couldn't follow you around. Do you know what I mean? Making sure that you like wrap you up in bubble wrap. Do you know what I mean? So it was still happening. And my music teacher saw this as well. And like, he kind of saw like I was having a rough time in that. So he basically called me mum and he said, look, he then later found out that like basically I was getting that badly bullied. I was like, stop leaving me house and things like that. I was scared to even like walk out my front door. Do you know what I mean? And but basically how we got into it was like he basically called me mum. He said, look, I'm going fishing this weekend. I know that Tom really enjoys it because of the enrichment days. Like, would you mind if he came along with me? And she jumped at the idea, 100%. Obviously trusted him and all that lot. He knew that he was a right geezer and all that lot. So yeah, so like he started taking me fishing and all that lot. And it became like do you know what I mean? He was basically, to me, he was a proper teacher. Do you know what I mean? I think everyone who went through school always had that one teacher they got along with really well, and it's quite ironic because like he's the best music teacher like in my county. Like he will teach anyone, but like it's really weird. Like he taught me so much, but not even a single music note. Do you know what I mean? So but basically he got me literally. So he got me into it, and like I owe a massive credit to him because it did get me out of like a proper dark place. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know if anyone listening to this has ever been bullied or anything like that. Like, it's a proper shitter. Do you know what I mean? And like I fell in love with it. I absolutely loved it. Like I love being outside. Anyways, like, I just fucking, as cringy as it sounds, like I got proper hooked on it. Do you know what I mean? Like the proper bit with me. And and that was literally from like at the age of like 14, like say 14, 15, and 24 now. So yeah, just over 10 years. I fucking love it. I do. Like any opportunity, I want to go outside. Like I'm not a computer person in the slightest. And since the whole lockdown, obviously we weren't allowed to go fishing and that. So I ended up buying an Xbox. Like I still don't like it, but I still manage to play it every other night. Do you know what I mean? Just a boredom saver. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm a proper outdoorsy person. I actually love it. Like started off fishing, like obviously like the little runs waters as you do, like getting your trade. Do you know what I mean? So and then I'm currently fishing it was a 75 acre reservoir, but it's been it's having a lot of work done on it. Sort of thing. It's got a dam wall on it, so it's been drained down to a lot. Basically, it's been the water level's dropped massively now, so it's basically like a whole new lake and basically a whole new challenge because obviously shallower water, more weed growth sort of thing. The light penetrates deeper into the water sort of things. Obviously, weed is just an abundance there, so it's made it a whole lot harder, which kind of makes it a lot better. So I've gone from one extreme, fishing runs waters and pasty bashing, to like fishing for literally 40 carp in nearly 60 acres now. So proper, what's it called? Like man's fishing. Do you know what I mean? So that's basically me, mate. Like, Love fishing, mate.
Yeah, and it comes across, and I think
Yeah,
that's
obsessed a
that.
bit, mate. Honestly, weirdo.
Yeah, that's why I reached out to you. It's apparent from just your passion really comes through on Instagram.
Appreciate
And
that.
yeah, you've definitely got a very unique account and approach to photography as well, which maybe we'll talk about photography actually.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah,
that's
100%.
something else that I think you're interested in is the kind of cinematic side of it. I know you've got a drone and you like putting bits together. So
Yeah,
maybe we'll get into that. We'll definitely get into the carp that you've been catching as well.
yeah,
You've been having your fair share of amazing English carp. So we'll definitely get into that.
yeah.
Before
Probably
we
been
move
jamming
on,
recently. Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
yeah, before we move on, most importantly, something I always forget to do. Pete usually reins it in. By the way, gang, it's just myself, Sam, today. Pete couldn't make it, unfortunately. Tipple of the episode, super important. Tommy, I know what you're drinking. Super carpy as ever. What's
Oh
your
yeah.
tipple for the episode, mate?
Right, but I basically, obviously, since lockdown, everyone in my house has become like a posh alcoholic. Do you know what I mean? So like, I've gone downstairs expecting my bottle of rum is to be there, and it's absolutely vanished. So I was going to drink like rum and coke. Do you know what I mean? But I'm drinking like Yorkshire tea instead.
Keeping it carpy, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. I wanted to get pissed on this one. Do you know what I mean? I talk more. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, no, someone nicked all my drink. Fuming. So yeah, Yorkshire tea it is then. Yeah.
Tommy, you don't need to talk more, mate. I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, I talk too much. I'm terrible for it, mate.
It's good. It's good. It's good. Awesome. Mine is at the minute I've got a pure Ubu. Then I'm going to follow it up with a Ringwood 49er rich and golden craft ale. It's got a
Oh,
picture of
bloody
a boar on the front, which that's why I bought it because I live near the Forest of Dean and there's boar there, so I kind of like them.
decent.
Yeah, and then I'm going to try not to drink too much. I'm on a school night. I've got to be up at 6, but I've got a little bit of Hendrick's gin after
There
it.
you go, straight as.
There we go. There we go. Good stuff. So, Tommy, you're brimming with stories, and I got a feeling we probably won't be able to cover everything on this
Yeah, I've
podcast,
got a few.
but you've got a few. Let's start with the catfish story. I love this. Go into as much detail as you want.
Oh shit. Right, yeah, basically, like referring to like the reservoir that I mentioned earlier. I was totally unaware that there was catfish present in the lake. Like not a lot at all. Like literally a handful, like 3 or 4. Like, and obviously they've got a food supply like nothing else because like the lake's full of like loads and loads of silverfish. So yeah, they're relatively big, put it that way. And I had no idea about this yet, but basically a bit of a cheat. Probably shouldn't tell this, but I'm still like within the laws of like what this country put inside with in referring to lockdown. Like I was staying in basically most days because I don't do exercise. I'm like my legs belong in a bird's nest. I'm that skinny. Do you know what I mean? Like honestly, so I don't do exercise. Tried it for a bit, yeah, and I was like, yeah, this isn't a bit of me at all. I literally, yeah, went there for about a month with my mate Steve, and he was like, "Oh, you get well good at this, mate," and I'm like, "Yeah, sod this, mate." Like, do you know what I mean? Like, not about that at all. And yeah, so basically, right. So like, I've been spending my hour of exercise lockdown basically sneaking out at like 11 o'clock at night to go bait up a reservoir. Like, so like, and I don't think I was the only one doing it because literally it was like a light show over there because all you kept on seeing was head torches everywhere. So everyone was up to no good. But yeah, basically I was baiting up this spot, and just to make my life easier as well, like I haven't got a car in it, so I was basically getting a cab down to the lake. And how I was basically doing this one evening, I went down there, marker floating just before lockdown, and basically my way of I can tell this now. I can tell this now because someone's actually removed the stick that I put in place. Yeah, basically, I found this spot, and I was like, I reckon I can walk out to that. So I chest waders on, walked all the way out there, and it was safe. Well, what I thought, anyways. So basically, I put like a broken stick in the water. Basically to use as my marker. So basically I could wade out straight to that spot and then get the bait spoon out and just spread it as much as I can. And that was basically it. And I've done it quite well because like, I chose like a thin-ish broken up branch, basically literally looked like a snack. Probably why I got removed at the end of it. Basically, yeah. So like that was my thing. So I'd wade out to this stick and just bait it with his bait spoon. And basically one night, sorry. Then obviously we got the green light. I was still baiting up the spot and yada yada, and basically when it first opened, it was obviously a booking scheme. I thought I was going to be the first person on. I had to wait like a week and a half. I was like, bollocks. So even when people were still fishing there, I was still sneaking on at like stupid o'clock in the morning to bait up.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, yeah, it came to my day of fishing. And I was like, sweet, happy days, and got straight into the peg and went straight. Obviously, walked straight up to the spot and put a lead on it straight away just to see how clear it was, and it was like proper thud. Like there weren't a lot of gravel in this lake. It's a water reservoir sort of thing. So it's just mainly it's a clay bed sort of thing. So it was just when it was dropping the lead down on it was just like thud, like proper. You just knew like fish had been feeding on it, and like even where you were stood, you were still stuck. You were still like had like 8 inches of silt going up your boat and that. So like you obviously know that they were feeding on it. So obviously there was essentially a carp hole there. I'm flipping over, so I was doing it for about 4 weeks, and so like basically, and I was like, all right, sweet. So like came for the first night, put the rigs there, buzzing sort of thing, back on the peg, and I was literally my levels were going absolutely mad because I had three rigs on this spot, and every 2 minutes it was like, and it was either crayfish nibbling at me line, or they were like walking over your lines. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if anyone fishes lakes that are like proper infested with crays, but they are a bloody nightmare. Honestly,
Right.
they take your tiger knots off your rigs, mate. They're that freaking hungry. But this is the thing. I was getting mad liners, stupid liners, and what I thought was craze. So I was like, right, here we go. And obviously, at the end of the story, you'll realise what it actually was. So I've buzzed one of the rods in. My mate who was fishing the lake at the time was always texting me saying, "You having a bloody party over there?" Because all I could hear was noises. So I feel like literally bobbins jumping up and down. So I brought one of the rods in, and it was really weird. I was fishing like a proper smelly popper. Like, do you know the bait works sent from hell?
Yes.
Like bait
No,
kit.
well.
Yeah. Don't man, the most antisocial smell. Like if you fish, like I've had it so many times where I've jumped into a mate's van and they can smell it from my bag, and they've actually said to me, "Mate, you fucking like you stink." Do you know what I mean? So like honestly, they're awful. So I had that on there, and I would have thought, right, Cray would obviously chew that to nothing. Do you know what I mean? I've reeled it in. It's been out there for about 3 hours. There weren't a single mark on it, and almost like the crays were scared to go near there. Yeah, basically. And I was like, what the hell? So I was like, right, I can't be asked to risk it. I'll put a tiger nut straight on there. And big old donkey choker with a tiger nut, like John, proper like long 2-inch ones. Do you know what I mean? So proper target hook bait. So I put 2 of them on, trimmed it down to make it look proper nice and that. And I've started walking out towards the peg. Oh, sorry, knowing full well this is at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Right, so like it's pitch black. All right, so like everyone's gone to bed. My mate was still up, obviously, because he could hear what was going on and that. But yeah, so 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm obviously getting these liners, reeled it in, put a tiger knot on it, and I've proceeded to walk out into the lake. Knowing full well that it's perfectly safe, but like I had my head torch on, like the Ridge Monkey, like one, it's got like the high beam on it. So I was just walking towards my stick and like just fixated on that stick sort of thing, so just like I'm walking a straight line. And I've got halfway there, and it's like a mill pool at the moment. There's no wind, nothing, so no waves hitting you or anything like that. So I've proceeded to walk out. I got about halfway. No, I got about 10 yards, 20 yards from the stick, and I felt basically a wave hit me. Like water was almost pushed towards me. I was thinking, what the hell is that? As I've like natural instinct, you've looked down, and I've looked down, and because it's so silty there, the water's really clouded up. But all I could see in the mist of this clouded up silt was a massive green tail. And I'm thinking, what the fuck was that? Like, I've got this gut wrenching feeling. I was thinking, what the hell was that? Like, do you know, like I said it to you a couple of times, but do you know when you're home alone and you can hear a noise from up the stairs and you get that weird gut feeling, like, what the hell is going on? And I was just like, my heart just sank a bit. I was like, what the hell was that? Like, it was literally like, do you know when you watch River Monsters and you see that reenactment of like how the fisherman got killed by this massive fish and that, or he got bitten by this fish? It was like that, mate. But I've looked down, I've seen this green tail, but it's just gone completely out of shot because it's so silty, I can't see it anymore. So I just kind of kid myself a bit. I was like, oh, it's a pike, do you know, and there's a foot of them in it, sort of thing. Like, I probably just spooked it. And I was like, sod it, I'll just cast, sort of thing from there. Casted it and it landed straight in weed. And I was just kind of like pep talking myself a bit, saying to myself, like, for God's sake, Tom, stop being a little bitch all your life. Just walk over there and put the rig on properly, because you could probably walk the rig out. Do you know what I mean? Make sure it's sitting flush and that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, come on, for God's sake. So I've like started walking forward. But at this point, I'm not looking at the stick anymore. I'm looking down now. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm feeling like I'm like in danger a bit. So I'm like walking along, and as just the mist, or not the mist, sorry, the silt cloud is like thinned out a bit, so I can actually see the bottom. I've just seen this gigantic mouth of a Welsh catfish. Like this thing, I kid you not, yeah, this thing must have been about fucking 8 foot long. Do you know what I mean? So I've like looked at it, freaked out. Like it would almost like it like righted itself towards me as if it was like, fucking come on, man. Do you know what I mean? So like, I've shit myself, and I've just out of pure panic. The only thing I had in my hand was obviously my fishing rod. So I've like just threw me rod at it, turned around and started legging it back to safe land a bit. And honestly, it was the most scariest thing ever. But the thing is, like, have you ever seen that film 300 when like Spartacus is getting absolutely done over by a load of like Persians like shooting arrows at him, and he just does that one last bit of energy to throw his spear towards that geezer? Like that's exactly what it was like, mate. Instead of it weren't like a manly roar, it was like a girlish scream. I've just like freaked out, threw my rod at it, and legged it. And like I've sitting there having a minor panic attack, thinking I need to got done over by a catfish. Because if you go over your waders or something like that, if you go over your waders, mate, you're stuffed. Do you know what I mean? Like honestly, like I don't understand how like you see these people like doing these like mad YouTube videos, going out in boats and that, chest waders. I'm like, that'd be my worst nightmare. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
don't do that. No.
Yeah, literally, yeah. If anyone's listening to this, yeah, please don't do it. That is dangerous, like stupidly dangerous. And like, so I've like legged it back to dry land in it, freaking out. Yeah, I'm like thinking, what the fuck just happened there, sort of thing. And I've like, do you know what? Sod it, not even worth it. Went straight back to bed in it. And like, I've set my alarm for like 4 o'clock in the morning, just when sun's coming up, thinking, right, I can do it during the day. It's a bit safer. And I've literally poked my head out the door of my bed of my tent, and I can just see me rod poking dead straight up out the water about 10 yards off the stick, where I've thrown the rod so hard it's like plugged itself in the silt. How the hell I didn't lose that rod, I will never know, because like, my mentality was thinking, sod the rod, it's not even worth it. Do you know what I mean? And like I've got this like 12-foot fucking free spirit rod poking out the water, like thinking, what the fuck was going on there? Do you know what I mean? Like honestly, it was the scariest. I can't stand catfish. Like I'm not like, yeah, scary situation. But yeah, basically them liners that I was getting, were basically the catfish feeding on me bait, and it was its tail hitting the lines.
Did you catch one? You ever caught one?
No, but that's the thing. Funny you should say that. Literally about 2 weeks after that happened, a fella on the opposite bank, like the opposite bank was only another 60 yards, so well in casting distance of that spot. He actually had a Welsh catfish, and it was £42, I think I saw on Facebook.
Mm.
So yeah, like that was a bit of a beast, put it that way.
Definitely.
Yeah, not my proudest moment in the slightest, because I needed new waders after that to shit myself.
Amazing. And this is the same pit that you've been fishing recently, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, same pit. It's a wicked water, like a wicked little reservoir near where I live. But it's quite a cool little story though, because I went to primary school. Like you could, honest to God, you could throw a stick a boilie, and it will probably hit the skull. Like it's that close to the lake. And like as a kid, just normally like every other once in a while, my mum and my family would walk around it after school sort of thing, or like me and a few of the other kids and my mum and her friends sort of thing would all walk around it. And it was which actually probably leads me on to like my most recent capture there, because it was like a what's it called? I used to walk around it. Like imagine this, like a little 8-year-old kid like walking around this massive, like to an 8-year-old kid, it was like, it's like an inland sea, this like 70-acre water. Like shit, well, any water, do you know what I mean? But like this one was, like, it just looked enormous, like honestly. And as a kid, you always like, obviously parents being parents, you're always told like, oh yeah, stay away from the water's edge and all that lot. So like, you obviously get that natural instinct to like think, oh, what's in there, sort of thing. You don't think about drowning, do you know what I mean? You think, oh my god, what monsters in there? Do you know what I mean? Your imagination goes wild as a kid, do you know what I mean? So I was like, how can I put it? so like when I used to walk around this lake, I always used to think, oh, what monsters lived in there. And like as my angling life began, obviously because this was years and years before I even picked up a fishing rod. But that's the mad thing about it though. It's almost like I had that angling instinct before I'd even picked up a rod or even knew about fishing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's almost like I always wanted to be near water. Do you know what I mean? So, but obviously growing up, like experiencing my angling world and all that lot, like catching a few here and there, sort of thing. Like this water, like that I knew that was only round the corner from my house. It was always like a bit daunting, a bit overwhelming, thinking, "Bloody, I'll never catch anything out there." But I knew what actually was in there because like obviously you hear stories like from the local anglers and things like that. But I remember one day walking around it, and it was a fella called Sam Clare. Bit of a local face, do you know what I mean? Like he smashes everywhere he goes. Like, do you know what I mean? He's a proper big name, a lot of big name down there. But if you know him, you know him, sort of crack.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I remember it clear as day because I remember walking around there like 14, and he had one of the A team. Now, this is obviously just before I got into fishing, but like, no, I knew about fishing, but I weren't into it. And I was there when he landed this massive flipping monster of a carp. And I can't remember the exact weight of it, but it's a fish called the Big Fully. Now, this fish is such a nice carp. And anyone who knows this fish can vouch for me. It is probably the best fully scaled carp in the country. Like, it looks like a common. Like, it's immaculate. Do you know what I mean? This fish, and it's not one of them. No disrespect to the carp breeders or anyone who like keeps carp who's listening to this, but like this like new strain of like carp, these mirror carp, that are literally perfect, like so pretty, but they almost just don't look real. Do you know what I mean? It's like you look at them and think that's a proper trophy fish, but it's almost like, do you know, it's a weird one, but I like them and I don't. Do you know what I mean? Because they're just like too clean,
like, too manufactured.
That's exactly, yeah, too cloned and too manufactured to be. This is what a perfect carp is. Do you know what I mean? Like these. Don't get me wrong, mate. If I had a fish like that at £30, I'd be like, bloody hell. Do you know what I mean? But like, I like a fish.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, sorry, Tommy. I think like some fish, you'd be like, fuck. You look at it and it's like it literally stirs something in your soul. It's perfect. But I don't want to sound cheesy and like a bit of a soap, but it's perfect. It's imperfect. You know, it's a bit like gnarled. It's got like a scar. It's little fins are withered away. Yeah, it's just
that's exactly it.
It's unique. It's a unique thing, and I think that's where you're going with it, isn't it?
That's exactly it. Yeah, like it's almost like the new generation of the, no disrespect to him, but the Simo. Do you know what I mean? Like. That's exactly it. It's like the new generation and that, and it's don't get me wrong. I love all fish. Do you know what I mean? Like any carp I catch, I fucking buzz off. Do you know what I mean? That's why I'm into it. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know. But like getting back to that fully, it's not like that. Do you know what I mean? It's perfect. Like you say, you said it perfect. It's perfectly imperfect. It's just a mint carp. Not clean though. It's got scarred up. It's got weathered all thing, but it's got a tiny little head and a perfect little mouth and a perfect little tail. Do you know what I mean? Everything about it is just spot on. And I saw this fish as he landed it, and I was with my mum, and I was just like, oh my god, what is that? And that fish is still in there, and it comes out like once every 3 years. Like it's a proper rare visitor to the bank. And that fit, if I do have it, that is. But that's basically the main reason I've joined, because like I've got so much sentimental value there for me to catch a fish out of there. It's just like, do you know what I mean? I could catch a 40 anywhere else, but if I have a 20-pounder out of there, it would be 3 times the more satisfaction. Do you know what I mean? Just because of because for years I looked at that water thinking, this lake is just too hard for me. Like, do you know what I mean? But like, obviously, as you get older and more experienced, you become more confident in what you can do in that. Like this lake is like it used to be like a football pitch, just thick weed. Do you know what I mean? Like proper. And the thing is though, like you could, back in the day, you could be on there for about 4 days. Wouldn't see another angler because so many people were just like, nah. Proper angler, like back in the day, proper what I call proper anglers would fish it. Do you know what I mean? Like set traps for like 4 days because they know full well by the time you've located the fish, you've gone back to get your gear, come back for them, they've gone already. Do you know what I mean? They're so hard to find in there. And basically that's the water I'm on now. And I actually had one of the A team the other day, and it was I'll tell you another thing as well after this one, but like when this fish, well, I've heard different things about it. I've heard that basically there's 4 linears in there. There's like the half line, the perfect line, drop scale, and the one-sided line. Now, I don't know if there's just a confusion thing or what, but basically the linear that I had, I heard from the head bailiff, the owner of the lake, that he said to me that fish hasn't been that. This is the 6th time it's been out.
Which
So it's a proper,
one's this?
This is called the one-sided line, or the 3/4 line they call it. And yeah, basically this hasn't been out in years. Like last time it came out was about 3 or 4 years ago, sort of thing. Like this is all from knowledge that I don't really know myself, because like I say, I only joined it a few months ago. So I don't really know the history of like what it is and that. But yeah, basically what happened is went round, done with a lake that big, you've got its location is key. Do you know what I mean? With any lake that is, do you know what I mean? Like the fish aren't peggy. Do you know when you go on some lakes, it's like, oh yeah, fish peg 1, oh yeah, fish peg 5, you will have a load out. Like on here, mate, there's no such thing as that. Like they can be on one side of the lake or the other, or dead center. And
proper water.
Yeah, proper, mate. You got to put your graft in, mate. Honestly, if you ain't sweating, you ain't doing it right. So like I've walked around there and I've located a few of them. Literally not loads. Like there was 5 in there, and I could identify 2 of them. And it was the big ghosty and the chocolate orange. For obvious reasons, they stand out like a sore thumb. But there was another little group. There was another 3 or 4 of them, and they were just cruising on the top. And I was like, I obviously thought fast. I was like, right, grab your little scope rod or your little stalking rod quickly and get a bit of bread, because they're obviously keen on that. And sorry, not that. I started off on a big ball of maggot, and I was wading out as much as I could, because the fish ain't spooky on there, because I've seen it before. Like I was sat in a bay. Sorry, just a note. Yeah, this is a nature reserve around it, so you get a lot of people walking around it, like
public
bikers,
access.
hiking.
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I just saw this group of kids launch this massive stone at one of the carp. Obviously, held me mouth a bit, because there was a lot more of them than me, sort of thing. So I kept me cool with it. But this fish didn't move. Was not phased in the slightest. It almost like it kind of like backed off a bit, thinking almost like, yeah, you missed me, you little prick. Do you know what I mean? Like, so like I've started wading out, and these fish just weren't spoken of me, but they were keeping their distance. So like I started with a ball of maggot, and I was casting at them, and I was brushing it past their heads, and they just weren't interested at all. Like, well, the ones I was casting at, and buzzed it in. I was like, right, stop this, go back to my barrel and get a slice of bread. So I stuck a little like slow sinking bit of bread. And by the time I come back to the water, they were gone. But then I saw 2 little brown marks that were just slightly stood out. And basically it was these 2 carp just swimming mega slow. So I like dipped the bread in the water to give it a bit of weight, and I've casted at it. And it's landed just short of them, but they did. Carp. The thing is though, with carp, from my experience and my friend Jake Hughes, he's a proper bait expert. Me and him talk about this all the time, like especially with like high vis hook baits. Like the fish know they're there. Do you know what I mean? Like the carp can sense bloodworm poo in 5 inches of silt. Do you know what I mean? They know that a pop-up's there. Do you know what I mean? They're fully aware of it. So when I've casted this rig about 8 foot short of them, I knew full well that they could see it. They knew it was there. And basically minutes later, I could still see it, because it stood out like a sore thumb, a bit white on like grey silt. And this common's come towards it, but it hasn't spooked off of it. It just like looked there and thought, no, I don't want any of that. And like, swam off a bit. And as it swam off, this mirror carp, well, I didn't know it was a mirror carp at the time, has just made a beeline for it. And it wanted that bread so much, that its tail was lifted out of the water. It nosedived on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it proper wanted it. And I was like, right, I'm not going to cast just yet, because just before that, I thought a fish had the bait in its mouth, and it didn't. I struck anyways, and basically it spooked off. So I was like, right, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm just going to wait for it to like probably get in this gob before striking. So like at this point, the water's clouded up, and I'm just watching the line, and it's like done a tiny little list pull, like a little twig. And at that stage, I knew it had it in its mouth. Do you know what I mean? So I've like literally picked up into the rod, and all of a sudden the fish is off. Like it's gone like proper grinding little clutch, mate. It's spun off. But like I'm playing it. But obviously this is the second fish I've ever hooked out of this lake, and I am bricking it, because I've lapped this lake so many times. I could notice a leaf out of place. Do you know what I mean? Like I've walked it so many times, and had so many opportunities to get on fish, but obviously with other anglers involved and me also not having a membership at the time, I couldn't fish for them. So I had this one opportunity, this one chance that like I've got, and so I'm hooked into this fish, and I am shaking like a leaf. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like no other place I've fished before. Like I've been to France fishing for like 60-pounders and things like that, and I've never been this nervous. Like, do you know what I mean? Having boat battles with massive carp and that, and I've never been this nervous to like landing a fish. And I've got 12-pound line on, and this lake's weedy as anything. But it just kept on going and going, and it's just made like a big arch basically. Like it hasn't taken a lot of line. It did on the first run, but it just kept on going round to me left and left. And I was just steering it, and I've literally looked back. My net's behind me. I've grabbed it, thrown it forward, and I'm like playing this fish as best I could in the water. And yeah, it's on the surface now, and it's like gulping for air. It's pushing water out of its mouth, and the net's just gone straight underneath it. And do you know when people be like, oh, they do a little celebration, oh, fucking get in and all that lot, like, I literally I collapsed to my knees. You know what I mean? It wasn't like an emotional moment. Do you know what I mean? It sounds a bit soppy, innit? But like, I was so buzzing about having this fish at the bottom of my net, because like I say, I've lapped this lake hundreds of thousands of times, and I've missed opportunities to get on fish, or I've lost carp and things like that. And so to have one of these residents in the bottom of my net was probably up there one of the best fishing experiences of my life, because like I say, I've wanted a carp out of here, or I've wondered what's in there since the age of 8. Do you know what I mean? I'm 24 now. Do you know what I mean? So that's like 14 years. Like I've tried to 14 years, a bit more now. I think I don't have a massive probably off. Wanting the carp out of it. Do you know what I mean? So like as anglers, when you get so sucked into a water, you fall asleep thinking about what's in there. Do you know what I mean? You probably like manifestate about catching a carp out of a certain lake and that. And that's basically what I've gone through. I'm so happy to have a fish out there. And the first person I called was like, well, my mum and dad straight away. I was like, find out there. Yeah, straight away.
Oh,
and they were like, they were more happy. They're lodging proper stopping, and they were more buzzing about it for me, because they were like, because they knew how much this water meant to me. And they knew how much I wanted to catch one out of there and all this. And so like I called them, fucking like I was buzzing, mate. Honestly, I was so happy, but I'm low balling it, mate. I could have cried. I was happy. And I've called up my mate Ross, and then I've called up loads of people, and then I'm like, yeah, sweet. And then I'm like, shit, I need someone down there to take some photos for me. And like, it's typical, isn't it? Like you get all your mates and that, and they're like, oh yeah, if you ever have anything, let me know. I'll come straight down with the camera.
Will they fuck?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I emptied my fucking phone book trying to get hold of people, and they were like, oh, I'm working. Oh no, I'm fishing there. I'm like, yeah, I was like, I felt like saying, are you wankers? Do you know what I mean? But so like, I called my mate Ben, who's got a tackle shop up in Winnigon City called Oakwood. Wicked shop. If anyone's around there, like they know exactly what it's like. And honestly, if you're after something, mate, they'll get it to your door within 2 days. And he was like, I can't do it, mate, but give me 2 seconds, mate, I'll sort it out for you. And I was like, legend. But at this point, I haven't even looked at the bottom of the net, because it's so silty there. I can't even see the fish, but I'm using a well deep net, like just purely out of excitement. I've just started calling people. So I haven't even looked at my prize yet. So like my mate Ben's called me back. He's like, right, Simon's going to come down for you. He's a geezer I've known for years, and I didn't think of it like, because he's obviously got a family now. And he's a mechanic. I thought I'd be well too busy. He won't be bothered. You know what I mean? And he's bailed me up straight away, and he's like, yeah, I'm coming down now for you, mate. I'm like, sick. Here we go. So like, hang the phone up. I'm like. Then it just like the penny dropped a bit. I was like, shit, I haven't even looked at this fish yet. So I've rolled the mesh back in the water, and I've looked at it. I'm like, fucking hell, it's like, oh, that's a linear. I was like, oh, it's one of the smaller linears. Because
I thought you were going to say it was a bream for a minute.
Yeah, could you imagine? Like, it's a tench. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, imagine all of that. And it ends up being like plastic. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I looked at it. I went, oh, it's one of the linears. And I was like, oh, it's definitely one of the smaller ones, because it's only like a mid-20. Like, totally unaware of what the hell I've just hooked in the pool. And I thought, oh, right, it's definitely one of the big ones, because they're like 30 plus or 40 plus. And I know that there's a handful of small linears in here that are probably just as rare, but just not as big. And so that's it. And I'm just basically just enjoying being in the water with this fish. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just waiting for mate to come down, and Alan, the head bailiff, comes around. And he's like, oh, you got one, have you, mate? And I was like, yeah. And he kind of knew he knew exactly what I was after and what I wanted to have. So he was buzzing for me. He goes, oh, what one have you had? And I was like, oh, it's one of the little linears. He went, bloody hell, they've been out for years. So like, we're sitting there chit-chatting that whilst the fish is in the water. Like, do you really do that typical, like, sailing the flag, net pose? Do you know what I mean? Like, you plug the butt of the net in the silt. Yeah, I was not risking that at all, mate. I had this net firmly in my grip. My reel and my rod are underneath the water, mate. I couldn't give a shit about what's going on there, mate. I'm like vice gripping this net. So like, yeah, 20 minutes passed and my mate Si walks down. And I'm like, yeah, sweet, here we go. And unplugged the net, rolled it down the mesh and that, and proceeded to walk towards the bank towards all the boys and that. They've literally sorted out the mat for me already. I didn't even leave the water. And I was like, bloody, that's got some weight to it. And as I'm walking towards the mat, Alan said, he goes, are you sure that's one of the small linears? I was like, yeah, I think so. And he pulled out the mesh and he's looked at it. He went, mate, that's not one of the small linears. That's one of the top A team. And I went, is it? And I've looked down at it. I was like, it's only like, well, it looked massive at first, but like, and he said, yeah, that's the 3/4 lin, which is, then he said to me, he goes, it's only been out like 3 times, mate, which does make total sense considering that everyone on there fishes like boilies, pellets, hemp seed and all that lot. Do you know what I mean? And I've caught this fish on a bit of break. Like, do you know what I mean? It's probably something that's never seen before. Like, do you know what I mean? So that's probably why I caught it. And I've pulled back and he's like, oh yeah, he goes, yeah, you've had the 3/4 lin. So he weighed it and it's gone ounces under 30 pounds. Now this fish, last time it came out was about 38 pounds, and I think it's gone over 40 in the winter. So like, I had it a proper low weight. It weren't like an unhealthy weight. It was a bit battered. Do you know what I mean? But it was just, it's one of them ones, isn't it? Like it's just emptied its spawn. But like my mate said to me, like, oh, it could be dying. I was like, no, not a chance. Because it's like, I mean, if you think about it like a 20-pound female. Do you know what I mean? It drops its eggs. That's lost about 5 pounds. Do you know what I mean? That's a quarter of its body weight, essentially. Do you know what I mean? So for a big 40-pounder to like lose about 10 pounds of its weight due to spawning, I think that's quite normal. Yeah, it's probably a bit.
Yeah.
To an extent, a bit. That's why I was looking at it. But it didn't look. Do you know what I mean? You can tell when a fish is ill, mate. It's like losing its colour a bit. It just doesn't look right. Do you know what I mean? But this fish was perfectly healthy. It was normal, anything. And yeah, I wasn't unlucky to call it. Not the slightest, man. I was just a bit unfortunate not to have it as top weight. But who cares? Do you know what I mean? So
it's irrelevant, mate. It
exactly
really
it.
is irrelevant. Yeah, you caught that fish. That's the thing.
That's exactly it.
Is this the latest one on your Instagram? That's the 3/4 lin.
That's the 3/4 lin.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah. Honestly, it's an absolute belter of a carp, mate. Like proper underslung mouth, but it's got a big black pupil on it. So like, it's a proper black-eyed bit. Like it's a proper it's a gnarly little character. Do you know what I mean? Like, and definitely was on my list of what to have. But I was so fixated on like what I wanted to have. That as my first ever fish out there. It's like proper good going. Do you know what I mean? So
it looks perfect, mate. It looks to me. It looks well proportioned. I mean,
yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah,
it's definitely a female, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, big old female. Like it's been that fish is I can guarantee is a lot older than me. Most of the A team in there are over 40 years old. Like they are old as the hills in there, mate. Honestly, proper gnarly fish, which is mainly the reason why I love fishing there so much. You know what I mean? But like the locals who are probably going to listen to this, like Mason, I don't know exactly what water is, but just for respect, and I can't drop the name. But it's an awesome water, and honestly, it's like to open my account on the lake. That's the thing. I like every other angler, mate. I had a spring plan. Do you know what I mean? I was going to hit that lake right, do it how I wanted to do it. And obviously with COVID, like every angler who that plan was soon dwindled and went away. Do you know what I mean? So to have one on there on like my third proper session on there is fucking well happy with what I had. Like really happy, but. The reason I dropped a little reference earlier about like the second carp I've ever hooked, right? Basically, I went stalking there one day because that's proper my style of fishing. Like, because obviously I work during the week like everyone else does. I can only fish once a week if I'm lucky. Do you know what I mean? Like most of the times I work most weekends because I just save money and buy more fishing gear. But it's like. If I'm lucky, I'll get a weekend's worth of fishing if I can. That's if I'm not seeing my friends or anything like that. So, like, basically, in the evenings, especially this time of year, because it gets darker like 10 o'clock at night. Do you know what I mean? So, most of those during the week, I'm walking the lake. Do you know what I mean? Walking away with my rucksack, my mat, and my rod. And in one of the bays, I've managed to find, what I thought was a handful of carp. Once I got in the water, half the stock was in there. It was black with them, and I didn't even realise. So, like, I've walked around to this bay, and it's really funny because once you know what to look for, locating carp is easy. It's a piece of piss. Once you know exactly what to do, it's like anything. It's easy. But so I'm walking around, and I've noticed from the other side of this bay that there was a coot's nest on it. And what gave the game away was when coots and other birds and all that, when they've got youngers with them, like little chicks and that, they are like we are. Do you know what I mean? They're incredibly protective. And this coot was looking down, but like swimming at a really quick rate. It was basically looking at this carp and telling it to shush, and it kept on like running towards it and then stopping again, running towards it and stopping. But it had his head down the whole way. It was going for something, which was a carp, and it kept on doing it. It kept on going back to the nest. It would do like a 360 around the nest, and then it would jump at another carp. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was going absolutely mad, and I was thinking, there's something over there. So I've literally legged it round there, got round there, and one of the ghosties in there stood like that, saw thumb in the weed. And then once you saw that one, you saw another carp and another carp and another carp and another carp. Mate, half the stock was in there. So like, I'm like, right, here we go. So I've crept in. I've walked through these lily beds, hoping that like, oh, if I'm stood amongst the lilies, my legs kind of look like lily roots. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit less suspicious. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it doesn't do justice at all. So like, yeah, I piss a lot of anglers off because I like walking in the lakes and stalking them that way. Do you know what I mean? But it works. It's like, but like, this is the thing. I didn't have waders on. I've just gone straight in there with my feet. I've just kicked my shoes off me, put my shorts on. I've just gone swimming basically, looking for these carp. And basically now I'm stood amongst these carp, and these fish are like how can I put it? These are carp that get angled for. Do you know what I mean? They should be spooky, but carp are so curious. They're such curious creatures. Like, I've had it loads of times, and like once they see disturbance, they come and investigate.
Yeah, they're there. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And now I've kicked up all this water. I'm not literally amongst them. I'm on like the very, very like near edge of them. Do you know what I mean? I'm nowhere near them essentially. Like, I'm about like 3-4 rod lengths away from them. But like, they've noticed all this silt kicking up, and like I say, I was like 4 rod lengths through. They've come straight out to my feet, and I've got like these 30 pounders and 40 pounders like swimming in amongst my legs, and I could name all the A team that were in there. There was a few of them missing, but like I had chocolate orange in there. I had the big ghosty. I had 2 of the linears in there. I had the one I dearly wanted that came out for a bit. The big fully. I saw that clear as day because it came towards me, and then it didn't spook, but it just went the opposite direction really quickly. You could just see all the scales just separate where it just bent round. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was obvious which one it was, and this fish is like 4 foot long as well. Like, you couldn't miss it. It's like a freaking massive carp. Honestly, I can't wait to get that one. And it's like I'm seeing all these carp, and then plus on top of that, loads of other 30s that haven't been named and all this lot. And I'm sitting there amongst it and that. And basically, what I'm about to tell you, well, I can tell it. I'm not one for like boasting about like lost fish and all that, because it's not the most best thing you want to talk about. But only literally like 3 people know about this, and so like, yeah, it was ages ago. This was, but basically, I'm sitting there amongst this water, and the big fully shot off. The linear's gone away, but the ghosties are still there. Now the ghosties are part of the A team. I know some people don't like ghosties, and I still don't understand why. Like, you see them people that are like, oh yeah, the Orientals, they don't count if you have them. It's like, mate, they're bloody bright flipping white. Do you know what I mean? The bright white mad colours and that. Why wouldn't you want one? Do you know what I mean? In your diary. So and basically, I've started fishing for them, and I'm like casting this ball of maggot at, and no wonder this fish very rarely comes out. It just weren't interested at all, not interested in the slightest. And like, I'm casting at it, trying to get it as close as I can, just to basically just to grab it. Do you know what I mean? It weren't having it, and I started reading in, and I'm picking off all the weed, all the silkweed that's like off the yerk and that, and I've like something towards me right. It's just caught my eye, and I've looked right, and like I've just seen this little carp head poking out the weed. I'm thinking, cool, which one's that? Do you know what I mean? Like, freaking hell, another fish is in there still. Like, this fish is like 8 foot away from me. It hasn't spooked yet. And the reason I said little head comes into obvious right now, but like, it's basically because of the disturbance, it's just ever so slightly, tiny bit by bit, slowly crept out the weed. And this fish has just got wider and wider and wider and wider. And I'm thinking, what the hell is that? Like a submarine. Do when you get those proper big carp that are just, they know that they're the queen of the pond, and they almost swim off with arrogance. Do you know what I mean? They're like, I'm not scared of you. I'm just going to keep walking, doing my thing. Do you know what I mean? It was like that, mate. This thing waddled out of just out of this weed, and it just got, like I say, it's so thick set, this fish. It became really obvious which one it was, and it was called the drop belly common, or the big belly common. And the reason it was so over was because you could literally see the white amongst its skin where the scales are separated because it's that fat. Like, this fish is massive. Now, this fish comes out, well, I don't actually know how many times it comes out, but like single figures. Do you know what I mean? It's the king or queen of the pond. Do you know what I mean? This fish has probably come out like 4 times in its entire existence. Like, it's proper rare, this one. And I've just seen it there and I'm thinking, I've got to go for that. Even though I've got 12-pound line fishing in very thick weeds, I'm going to go for it. Because so I've literally picked all the last bits of weed off and I've just flicked at it and fucked the cast up massively. So I reeled back in, picked all the weed off again, done it again. I had done this about 5 times. This fish hasn't spoke to us. Like, it almost like it knew what he was doing. It was always waiting for me. It was like, are you ever going to get a good casting, mate? Do you know what I mean? But the reason why I kept on messing up the cast because it was like the wind was hacking into this bait and it had really, really tall, I don't know what type of weed it is. I think it's called onion weed or something like that. Really weak weed. It ain't thick rooted or anything like that. But it was because of the wind. It was like slumping over. And it was basically, you couldn't get to the pond because the hook would just get snarled up in the weed. So I kept on going and going and going. I kept on missing. And I'd done this one cast and I could just see this bit ball of red just kept on sinking and sinking and sinking. I was like, holy shit, it's actually got past the weed. And it's landing on the thing. And I lost sight of the bowl of maggot, but I could see that the carp was looking at it. And I could see it ever so slightly just creep out of the weed. And it was knowing full well, obviously I could see it because it was close to the surface. But as it was drifting forward, it was almost sinking. It was going for that maggot. Do you know what I mean? It was slowly ever so slightly creeping down towards the maggot. And I didn't lose sight of the carp. I could just see the wrist of its tail. And like literally a couple bubbles popped up where its head was and the lines twitched. I knew it had it in its goal. I've just lifted up into it and this fish had just charged like you wouldn't believe it. It's like, it almost didn't know it was hooked for the first 2 seconds. It was like, fuck. And then like it bloody just went zzz. Like, I was fishing a size 8 hook because like, I don't know about you guys, but like when I fish 3 line, maggot or anything, a size 6 is a size 6 or a size 4. Like, I know you're fishing for big carp in weedy waters, but like the fish just don't go for them. Like, obviously the carp go for maggots, red maggots, because they think it's bloodworm, and obviously because they like maggot, they munch it all the time. Do you know what I mean? But that's the main reason why red maggots is used so much, because it looks like their natural food, wiggles, and it just kicks into their animal instinct that it's food. But like, a bloodworm doesn't weigh the same size as like a size 4 hook, because that's a bit of weight. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know it's just a hook, but in the grand scheme of things, these carp are used to feeding on bloodworm and natural foods that weigh literally nothing in the water, and they're picking up a bit of metal. Do you know what I mean? The fish just don't even go for it half the time. If they're sinking too slow or something like that, and I know you can like adjust it with a bit of foam and things like that, but it's just unnatural. Like, I've got a lot more bites fishing smaller hooks, fishing that style of fishing, than I do big hooks. Like, it's just a thing I do now. I don't even look at it now. Do you know what I mean? I just do it. And yeah, so like this size hook, this size 8 hook, barbs, choddy hook is like, I know it's nailed, and it's just going and it's just charging. And the thing that made me, and basically, long story short, I didn't have the net with me. Like, it was still on the bank, and I'm like 15 yards into the water now. So I'm like walking towards the net without putting too much tension on it. Although it is a small, sharpened hook, it does pop out. It can pop out. It's just a small hook. And so I'm like paying line out with the addition of tension to like keep that bend in the rod whilst the fish is still doing its thing. So I'm like paying off line using the clutch, trying to get to my rod, and I've like grabbed hold of the rod, thrown it forward, but my net hasn't got a net float on it. Where it does now after this whole freaking palaver. So like, I've chucked the net forward and I'm concentrating on the fish. It's still thudding away, and I've like, right, it's going over there. I've got to go after it. And I've looked down, my net sunk. And I'm like, no. So I'm like trying to keep tension. I'm digging around in the silt, and I could feel the fish is stuck in some weed. I was like, right, here's my chance a bit to fucking try and find this rod. I'm kicking about, managed to grab the net, and I just didn't even think. I just chucked that net over my net in my head. And I'm like reeling in this fish, and I'm like, right, it's weeded up, but it's slowly coming. It's like, right, and like it's slow, ever so slightly. You can feel when you feel the weed just like twitching, like where it's just like the fish is slowly coming free. And it's done that. It's just done one slightly bigger twitch, and like, here we go. It's like, yes, moving forward, sort of thing. And I'm like reeling in slowly, and it's like, I've had it loads of times, especially with like, well, all carp really. Once it gets a bit of weed over its head, it's just like I'm eating a sack of shit, and it's just like you almost pray that it's got weed over its head because you know it's not going to put up a fight now. So like I'm reading it in, it's just coming in like a dead weight, and I'm thinking, touch, here we go. So like I know exactly which fish this is, and I'm shaking like a leaf. Right? Like I'm down to my pants, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? In this silty water, my feet are cut up to like, you should have seen my feet after I got out of the water. They were pissing blood because of the amount of like zebra mussels I've stepped on. Do you know what I mean? Like honestly, it was horrible. So like I'm reading this fishing, and I'm like, something came right here. And, like it's gone about 40 yards now. So I'm like thinking this is coming in way too easy, and I've like kept pumping it. I've just reeled in this big ball of wave, and yeah, I was basically hot, but I could have sat there in the water like and could have cried because I was so gutted that I just lost the biggest carp in that pond. Like a fish has gone out well over 45 pounds, and like very rarely gets caught. Like this is, in fact, without putting a name on it, this carp here is rarer than the Burfield common. I know that's like a 60 plus common, like the ultimate prize in carp fishing in my eyes. But like this fish has come out less times and it's probably just as old. Do you know what I mean? And
how much is it fished for?
quite a lot. Like you absolutely a few of the I know a few of the sticky boys have fished it. Haven't actually caught it. One of them has, but it's heavily pressured. This fish has been around the blocks for years.
Amazing.
But it's almost like it's really, yeah. It's a strange one. Do you know when you get something like it always used to turn it? It just turns it. You just know full well it turns its nose down at boilies. It only feeds on naturals, and it's quite amazing that. Well, it's like the Black Mirror that Steve Briggs had out of the Mere. That fish got that big feeding on naturals, and that's exactly the same case as this carp here. Like it's gone that many years without getting caught, and it's got that big feeding on bloodworm and snout and caddisses and all sorts. It's something incredible. Do you know what I mean? And it's on the list of so many anglers. And the lake has got massively busy recently, like in the past couple of years. Like it has got, and I've noticed it myself. Like it's gone from like only a select handful of anglers fishing it to every man and his dog in the local area has now got a ticket. Reasons why I do not know, because it was a 50-man syndicate, like, and there's a lot more than 50 people who have got a ticket on there now. So yeah, so basically, like, I lost this fish. I know exactly which one it is, and yeah, heartbroken, mate. So to catch that linear and for it to be one of the 18 was double satisfying because like I had that shitter of a day that day, and I didn't give up. And yeah, the moral of the story is yeah, like no matter how much you want to cry and give up, you just can't. Do you know what I mean? If you've got a target, it's like anything in life, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like even if you want to get somewhere, it's not like handed to. If you like, not everything's handed to you. Do you know what I mean? You got to graft. Do you know what I mean? And that lake is such a demanding water. Like I think it's got a circumference of about 2 miles, maybe 1.5 miles. I think if you walk the full length of it, like I was in a peg that they've called the sluice because there's a big sluice that comes into it, which is right on the other side of the lake, and I weren't confident there. So I've packed up all my gear, walked all the way around, and so basically I literally walked a mile with fully stacked with gear to go fish a peg. Do you know what I mean? Like it's that sort of demanding water. Do you know what I mean? You got to put the graft in to get the fish. So yeah, it's that's basically where I'm fishing at the moment. A bit of a very long-winded way of answering that question, but yeah. So yeah, so that's actually where I'm fishing at the moment, and yeah, it's my start of fishing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like any hard water. Do you know what I mean? You get people that come on thinking like giving it the old Charlie Big Potatoes, thinking they're going to empty the place, and it just spits them back out. And it basically they run off with their tails between their legs. You know what I mean? So like it's like yep. People come up and be like, yeah, I'm going to do a paid campaign on there, and I'm going to smash it up and all this stuff, and then they don't see them again. Like it's like everything, like mate, like.
I'm listening to you. I'm like, fuck, I know where this lake is because I came down to see you.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
And I'm like, shit, maybe I should be trying to fish for this fish.
Yeah. Oh, mate, honestly, mate, if you get, mate, I think he's handing out tickets like they're nothing. But yeah, honestly, Mate, I'd highly recommend getting a ticket, mate, because it is. But it's the weird day. You will get so many shit days on there, but it kind of just eagers you to do more. It's like, so what? Now I'm going to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially where you live, mate, it's worth the journey, 100%.
Well, I mean, yeah. When you say that it's like there's the main fish that you're after, you know, is you're basically saying it comes out less than the Burfield common, and it's
100%.
it's got that kind of kudos and blah 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 blah. If that's, and I'm not that I'm doubting you, but even if a fraction of that is true, I'm like, fuck, I feel like I should be fishing for that. I know where the water is.
That's the thing, mate. That's exactly it, mate. It's a very under the radar water. Like it's one of them waters. If you know about it, you know about it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and by the way, there'll be some people listening to this that will know exactly where it is, just to let you know, Tommy. So,
100%.
There's a lot of listeners.
So can't be throwing one out.
Incriminating yourself.
But yeah, I'm not name dropping it, but proper mate. But it's but like I say, this is the it's a proper wicked water. Do you know what I mean? I love it to pieces, and even once I've had, well, the big, like the main prize I won out there. It's one of them waters. I'm still gonna have a ticket because there's so many other fish on there that are just bang, absolutely unreal. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of anglers out there that are proper like, oh yeah, once I've had that, I want to empty the A team, and I won't stop. It's almost like if they catch one of the other carp, they almost like feel disappointed, not they haven't got it. Like, I'm not like that. Rob Hutchinson said it absolutely perfectly in one of his books. That like with any journey, you got to stop and smell the roses. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the build up to that capture that makes it a wicked capture. Like, I'm gonna be funny, if I had that fish straight away, like although I'm gutted I lost that carp, if I had it straight away, I'd have been like, oh, not really much of a story behind that. Do you know what I mean?
I'm the same. 100%. Yeah, 100%, mate. Like, you feel like you haven't earned it, and then you got a downer on it, and then it fucking clouds.
That's exactly it. Yeah,
clouds it. Yeah, I've had.
It really does. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, that's exactly it. And like, you need it basically makes what could be a really long story a bloody fucking like a 4-letter like sentence. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, found it, caught it. Like there's no.
It's just
like,
for yourself.
I like the fact that I've lost
it
because. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I think it's a funny one. Like, it's a, how can I put it? Like, it's like anything in life. Like, what I mean, if you go out your way to like do anything in life and you get it straight away, it doesn't make it less rewarding. It just makes you like, well, meh. Like, you know, like this is my kind of like really weird philosophy on life. Yeah, I want as many stories to tell my grandchildren about. Like, that's what I dream about. Do you know what I mean? Having my grandson on my knee and like telling him about all these like mad fishing stories, and he just looks at me and thinks, "What the hell is this old kid waffling on about?" Do you know what I mean? It's definitely. Like, I want that fish in my album. I want most of those fish in my album, and I want a mad story to go with it. Like, it's like, don't get me wrong, I know everyone goes fishing for their own reasons. Like, I've got nothing against these certain waters. Like, I'm not gonna badmouth them, but like places like RH Fisheries and Linear, absolutely stuffed to the brim with big carp, and people go down there and like, this is what I love fishing. I love all aspects of fishing. Like, if you. To be fair, mate, like I saw it the other day, like on one of the syndicates I'm part of, like I'm on their Facebook group. A fella went on there and had like an 8-pound bream, and he was holding it with such pride and buzzing off his tits about it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I love about it. It's like that's to me is fishing. Like, you'd be so happy with anything you caught, but like this is the thing that I know I'm going on a mad tangent right now, but like a bit of a rant. But like the one thing I can't stand about these certain bits of carp fishing is like people go on these waters, like I say, that are filled with big carp, and they walk away with it with like such arrogance, like, I'm fucking like all this lot, and it's like thinking that they're better than someone else. Like, yeah, I know fishing, like you can be better than some people, you can cast further and whatever, you can do whatever you want, like better than someone else. Like, I understand that, but like if you're purely just going to these waters that hold big carp just for your ego boost, or just for the front of saying, yeah, I've had 13 30s, yeah, I've had a few 30 40s and all this, like just like, and it's just like to me that's not right. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, well, fucking hell, mate, anyone could do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, what makes a catch so brilliant is the story behind it. Do you know what I mean? Like good prime person, Terry Earn, he could literally tell me about how he caught his 10-pounder with such detail, and I'll be like that, like absolutely fucking like want to listen to that story again. Do you know what I mean? But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no build up to a capture like this, like with them sort of waters, which I don't get nothing against. Like, do you know what I mean? It's bloody, mate, them sort of waters, mate. They're like super lakes. Do you know what I mean? Full big carp. It's like, that's just not my style of fishing. If that, as weird as that sounds, it just ain't. Like, I love captures. Like, I've got mega stories behind it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how you lost the carp and then like 4 years later you caught it again, and it's just like, it just makes it all the sweeter. Like, that to me is that's where I get my buzz from. Do you know what I mean? So if I did, like I say, if I did want to call that carp straight away, yeah, it would have been wicked. Would have been absolutely outstanding. Best fishing moment of my life, probably. But I soon would have realised, like, oh, crap, like, I kind of wish I had that at a later time. Like, yeah.
I love it, mate.
As weird
I
as that
love it.
sounds, yeah.
No, I'm with you. I think, yeah, it's you got to do it for yourself, like, and anyone listening to this,
100%.
I don't want to, I don't want it to be like an elitist thing. I don't want to alienate anyone. You go fishing,
Nah, sod that.
whatever freaking reason you want. You want to go and catch, single
Yeah.
figure pasties all day. That's fucking awesome. Go and do that. Don't
Mate,
feel like,
I wish I got a buzz, like a massive buzz out of catching pasties all day, because then that's what I'll do. Do you know what I mean? But like, that's what I say. Like, I totally agree with you. I don't want to like have this mad like tunnel vision of like, oh yeah, if you fish this water, you're so and so. Nothing like that at all. Like, that's not what I'm on about at all. If you get that much of a buzz from catching mad fish, fair play to you. But I see it all the time that people go to these waters and they catch these, and they think they're better than you. That's what I don't like about carp fishing, is the arrogant side of it. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just like, no, don't knock someone because you've had X amount of 30s from this water. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, people say that, like, I see it all the time. Oh, I just want to beat my PB and all this time. I'm like, yeah, fair play, beat your PB, but like, you're smashing the water that you're on. And you've had like the biggest fish out of there. Like, if you put that sort of scenario on a different water that had 540s on it, you would have had them 540s. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, they say that big fish make a better angler. No, that's not at all. It's about the venues that you go to, and if you can fish it twice as hard and fish it right, and you catch them big ones out of it, then you've succeeded. Do you know what I mean? Like, people get so down about like fishing lakes that are like the biggest fish in there is like 24 pounds. But if you've had that a 23 pounder, you've had the second biggest fish in lake, regardless. Do you know what I mean? You should be bloody proud of that. Like, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
And then I think you move on to a place where you just don't give a fuck anyway. It just doesn't matter.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Really, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's exactly it, mate. Basically, what I'm getting at is just enjoy it for what you want out of it. Don't do it for anyone else. Nothing like fishing is a sport that like so many people go for so many reasons, to get away from like the rat race and things like that. They want to just enjoy being alone in their own little bubble, or with friends and all that. And that's what it should be. It shouldn't be like a competition amongst other people, if that makes sense. Like, just go fishing for yourself. Like, it's just like no one cares that you're not catching birdies all the time. Do you know what I mean? As long as you're enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? It does crap me up all the time when I see it on social media. Like, oh yeah, like, wish I was out and things like that. Like, I've had this 30 and this 30, and it's just like, mate, just do it for yourself, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, make some stories up to tell people about in the pub. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love that. Like I go to the pub with a few anglers as well. That's what we talk about. We get absolutely steaming pissed and start talking about like, oh mate, you won't believe what I lost the other day and all this. Like, we just mug each other off. Like, we sit there and like, oh yeah, I lost the 40 the other day. We're like, hey, you noddy, fuck it, what are you playing at? Like,
that's a good thing to lead on to. Actually, you live in what I would say is a bit of a, you're at least near an epicenter of carp angling. I know I probably am as well, in a different way.
Yeah.
But you are, So what's it been like growing up and through your angling time in that area that you're in?
Oh right. Well, basically, I'll make it more simple for everyone. I live in Boreham Wood, which is in Hertfordshire, and it's like literally right on the outskirts of like London, basically. Like, I think if you
London
went
to
the
mate.
bottom of my road, yeah, that's exactly it. If you went to the bottom of my road, turn right. Yeah, literally, you've like technically entered the London postcode if you went down the road. Like, do you know, that's how much on the outskirts I am. So,
and you're
like,
near Reading as well.
Near Reading, Milton Keynes. I'm really close to Essex. I border, like, basically Hertfordshire borders Essex as well. So like, I'm near everywhere, but I'm not in anywhere, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, everywhere's like half an hour drive. Do you know what I mean? And but yeah, like fishing. To answer your question, like, what's it like fishing in my like? What was the question again? If you don't mind me asking.
I mean, what's it been like growing up in the area that you are? It's obviously rich in angling or carp angling history. Do you think that's? I mean, just expand on that. What's it been like? Do you think it's been an aid to you? Do you think it's been a hindrance? I guess you know.
No,
to be honest, I guess
like,
you know nothing different, do you?
Nah, no different at all, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got a few. How can I put it? Like, I mean, like I say, I've got the reservoir not far from me, and then like if you go 20 minutes from house, you've got Stanborough Lakes, which shockingly enough, a lot of famous anglers have actually fished. Like you got Stanborough Lake, which is quite. I didn't actually know there was such a known water, like the Stanborough Park and that, because like you see, like I've listened to a few podcasts and like a few good anglers have like name dropped it. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I grew up fishing Stanborough Lake. Things like that. It's like bloody hell, like, I fucking know, dude, what's like my stomping grounds? You know what I mean? Like where I caught my first 20 and things like that. So it's a bit mad, but yeah, like angling around here, like it's. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like years ago, Boreham Wood was a bit of a dive. Like honestly, like you had hoodlums and all that lot. Like I've been jumped a couple of times around here. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got the scars to prove that one. But like it's not many. Not like I say, not many of my school friends were into fishing. It's literally just been me. I was basically like, I still am. Like I'm that weirdo that goes fishing every other day. Do you know what I mean? So
Lone Ranger.
but yeah, that's exactly it. I wish. Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, like I mean, there's a few anglers live around here. Do you know what I mean? But it's I like where I live. Do you know what I mean? It's like it almost like makes it all the sweeter when I go fishing. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not surrounded by it. If that makes sense, like, I do have to travel a fair bit. Like I'm not a million miles away from Walthamstow Reservoir either, which I've done a bit of time on there as well. Which I absolutely love that water as well. I love the aspect of it of like because like being on your toes and like
That's dicey,
running
right?
at fish. Oh mate, it's funny as hell, mate. I remember going down there once and I was witnessing people like one person was with the barrow filled up with two people's gear and he started walking as it gates opened whilst his mates paid for the pair of them and like vice versa. I've seen people on bikes and all sorts like peg. Like honestly, it's the funniest. I loved it. I loved the aspect of it. I didn't get on one good peg either. Like by the time I got around to the peg that I wanted to do, it was already taken. Like it was funny as hell, but I love fishing up there. And
yeah,
but
isn't
yeah,
it's proper rough, isn't it, Walthamstow?
Yeah, fucking hell, is it? Jesus Christ.
Like
Wouldn't want to do a night on there, put it that way.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, you hear them all the time, mate. Yeah, it's bizarre. Like, you think it's a firework. Hey, it's all, mate. It's a gunshot. Like, that's a bit scary, do you know what I mean? But, like, thinking about that. Have I had any, like, touch wood? I've never had any bad experiences when it comes to fishing and that. Like, actually, tell a lie. I've got a story for you. Fucking hell. Right, so basically, it was me. This is a bad story for the geezer, but kind of a funny one for us, really. So there was three of us. It was me, my mate Adam, and his friend Yassin. We was all fishing down in waterside fisheries in Chesham. So we've gone down there, and like I'm fast asleep. This is like 2, 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, like proper late. And we started hearing. And this is a tiny lake, by the way. This is like 4 acres. Like you could underarm flick to the other side. It's like that shape of a lake. And like we've heard like yelling and all this. Like my mate Adam's like woke me up. He goes, "Mate, are you hearing all this?" I'm like, "What the hell's going on?" And like we've heard almost like a van's pulled up onto the gate. Now this lake's gated up, and we've heard like a van pull up. They're shouting and all this. Like, and all of a sudden, you could literally hear someone broke the gate to get in. So this van's pulled up, the lights are still on, and they've walked from bivvy to bivvy, and you could hear him being like, "Are you so-and-so?" I can't remember the name, but he was like, "Are you so-and-so?" And he's like, "What? No." And then like they got to this last bivvy, and they're like, "Oh, you this guy?" And he was like, "No, that fella's next door. Why? Who are you?" And he was like, "Oh, no one, don't worry." And all these boys had jumped into this fella's bivvy, grabbed hold of him, the dog that he was with, it started barking, all this stuff, and they basically... And I'm sitting there thinking, what? And this has all happened whilst I'm like half asleep, and I'm not even left in bed yet. My mate Adam's like watched the whole thing. I went, "What the hell's going on?" He went, "Someone's just been kidnapped." I went, "You what?" And he was like, all of a sudden the van's driven off, and that was it. And this geezer just like left all his gear there, and all of a sudden there's a helicopter that's come above the lake, and like police have turned up and all this stuff. My mate Adam's gone round to like kind of help a bit, and basically, long story short, this fella was getting jumped because apparently he owed them a load of money. Like, I don't know what the coup was at all. This is literally all I've just heard within the first 20 minutes of waking up. And like basically, yes, that's definitely like one of the most scariest things that's probably happened like on the same lake as me. Like someone's literally just been kidnapped in front of me. They found it. They obviously the geezer came back and that, but like, yeah, that was definitely not the tranquility we go fishing for. Do you know what I mean? Here and seeing a load of bloody sirens and helicopters turn up and that. Yeah, that was fucking mental basically. And I was like, right, I'm zipping down my bed for that one. Fucking hell, see you later. Like,
yeah, amazing. Amazing. So obviously that It's quite a tale from Walthamstow that you had. Just to bring it back a little bit, you've been talking about your local resi that you've been fishing. So you've had one out of there, or you've had a few out of there? Because obviously I've been following you closely, and
Yeah.
that you've had quite a few decent fish recently. I think you had a £40 common. I think you had
Yeah.
another sort of big bellied fish. You've had a few real nice fish. Is that the
Yeah.
one that you've been telling us about, or is that the one slightly up north that you've been fishing?
Yeah. Yeah, this is basically right. So that linear I posted recently, that is definitely from there. But the fish that went just below £40 was actually from a syndicate from sorry, I had a burp then, Jesus. Was from Milton Keynes, which is a syndicate I've got up
Yeah.
there. Wicked water, definitely. It's definitely the most sought after common that's in there, and I've joined there recently. Basically, how I got on there was my mate Ross Mull, who is probably the nicest geezer you will ever meet, and he's glad that I've said this. All right. This fella, yeah, honestly, he's that guy. Yeah, if you need any, he's helped me out so many times because I've literally got a memory like a fucking sieve. Like if I'm getting excited, if I get excited over a fishing trip, I forget everything I need. I've forgotten my bloody on the hooking mat and like my stove. I bought all this like cold food and that I need to cook up and forgot my stove. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll get that fixated on like
Chris Yates.
the rigs, the bait. How am I going to do it? Yeah, literally that. Terrible, mate. So like he has helped me out so many times. This fella, I love him to pieces. Like he's the sort of guy. Like if you were like, say, if you got yourself in trouble and you needed £2,000, he will send you £2,000 before you even sent the text. Do you know what I mean? Like he's that guy. So basically, like it was because of him I got onto the ticket. It's basically his uncle's lake, and as you with anyone, do you know what I mean? When your best mate needs a ticket, he'll pull some strings for you to get on a place like that, like literally anyone else would. Do you know what I mean? So he got me on there. He said to me, "Mate, you got to fish up here, mate. Like it's the nuts." I was like, "Yeah, sorry, I'll go up there." And he said to me, I know it's not your sort of water, but there's a lake on there called Alder, which is basically without like going into mad detail. Basically, the syndicate, it's a bit of a where you would fish if you was a retired but angler. You don't really want a lot of stress with it. You don't want to wheel your gear all the way around everywhere. And it's just good, decent fishing.
Bit like Pete.
So basically, lovely geezers on there. Obviously, I've had cups of tea with so many people on there. It's unreal. But there's a lake right in the far corner called Alder Lake. Now, this lake, from when I found out when I was fishing it, turned out to be the most sought after ticket to get hold of in the country. Basically, this lake was like the car park lake of that region. Basically, everyone had bloody tickets on there. It was basically Great Linford Lakes, which is the syndicate name. It was the original linear fisheries from years ago before it moved up to Oxford.
Yeah.
So you had people like cool blimey, I'm going to name some names now. Crap, I've gone stage fright. I can't remember the names. Who's the fellow who wrote the book called Carp Fever?
Kevin Maddox.
Kevin Maddox had a ticket. He was fishing it. I believe they used to do the carp championships up there. So you had people like all the quarter boys done matches up there, like Danny Fairbrass, all that lot. Mm-hmm. Loads and loads of people fished this water. And basically this ticket, it had like a weekend ticket, so like your Friday to Sunday ticket, and then it had a during the week ticket. Like it had two syndicates on this one lake. But basically, back in the day when 30s were like very, very hard to come by, this lake had two of them, which was unheard of. Like I think the car park lake had four, and like this one was second in place. You know, that's how sought after this water was. But because of the nature of the other members in there, this lake just got overlooked. Like the pegs were overgrown. You didn't know you could tell which ones were pegs because it was the only gaps in the trees. Do you know what I mean? Like they were so overgrown. Literally absolutely no one fished it. And it was choked with weed and it was deep. So I was like, yeah, I've got a slight semi looking at this water. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I literally didn't think twice. I sodded off all the mainstream lakes that this syndicate has, and I've just made a beeline for this water. And I've gone in there in the height of summer when I first joined, and like you could just see like not biggest in the slightest, but biggest fish out there was £24. But what makes this water so great is that it runs parallel with the Great Ouse. Now, where this part of Milton Keynes is, the river bursts its banks quite regularly, like once or twice a year. So basically, river carp flood into that lake quite a lot of the time. And so basically, no one actually knows what the stock is. Like, I think the Great Ouse record, which I think got discontinued, came from that lake. It flooded into the river, and someone caught it like a few miles downstream at like a stupid weight, at like 30 something pounds. It was actually the record for a bit before they discontinued it, because they found out that it weren't actually a true river carp. So that's how mad this bit. So basically, and this was years ago. Do you know what I mean? So like the carp in there have like almost like crossbred with river carp. So the strain of carp that's in there are like these long, lean carp that are absolutely massive, like no shoulders at all, just proper torpedoes, mate. Which, in hindsight, fight like absolute stink. Like, and basically, like my mates think I'm that angler. Like I'm not that angler. I'm that person that you dare me to do. Like, I've got no shame, basically. Like I've got zero shame at all. Yeah. So basically, what this lake comes to, right, is basically choked with weed. All right, so you've got to basically be on your rods rapid. You've got to fish strong line. Like I was using 30-pound braid on there, and yeah, just be on your rods. Long story short, yeah, I was fishing. I've had a few fish out of there. I found a spot, and I'm keeping baiting regularly. Like I actually swam out there one evening in the height of summer, obviously, with a massive horse's salt lick, a pink Himalayan rock salt.
Yeah.
Now this thing weighed about 2 kilos. This thing weighed about 2 or 3 kilos. So I'm swimming out with it, reusing my feet whilst holding this boulder of a fucking rock salt until I got over my gravel spot, and then I just dropped this great big rock on top of it, swam back towards it again, sort of thing. And basically, that's without me even pre-baiting. That spot was always baited, if that makes sense. Carp would it became like a natural thing to them. Those fish would just congregate around this big block of salt, and I was just picking off one by one. Like I was fishing singles by the end of it, and it was such a great tactic because I did catch a lot of the stock doing that, but I didn't have the true big one that was in there. There's two big. There's a 30-plus mirror and a 30-plus common. Now this 30-plus mirror, mate, it belongs in a bloody museum, mate. This thing is grey, wrinkly, scarred up, but somehow still perfect. Like perfect little mouth. Like it's just unreal. This carp, mate. Honestly, like I'll send you a picture of it after this, mate. On WhatsApp.
Please do.
Stunner,
please,
mate. Like a proper one that like everyone wants in their album. And yeah, basically, so like I'm fishing. It's the nature of weed fishing. And you've got your tips up, and like you're just trying to get as much line fishing away. It's a 2-rod rule, by the way, on there because it's so small and they don't really use 3 rods on there. And the bites are savage or anything, but you're fishing locked up as well. So like, it's late. Do you like? It's weird with fishing, isn't it, when you do night fishing, because you don't sleep as well as you do at home. It's almost like your brain's still active because you know something's about to happen.
You can't.
So you can't get you must like half sleep, half not. Like if that makes sense. But so like I'm sitting there like half asleep, just chilling, wherever. Like I'm not even on my phone. I'm just like laying in bed, and all I've heard was beep, 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 and I'm fishing Neville's. So like even if you get a freaking like a pull on the rod, you don't get a beat because it doesn't move the wheel because you're fishing locked up, you're fishing a tight line. Yeah, Neville's for snag fishing, absolutely useless. Use Delkins. All right, so much better. And so all I've heard was beep, 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 and I was like, shit, I've got to take. So I've literally sprung out the bed chair, and I'm fishing brolly as well. So I've like legged it to the rod, and all I remember seeing, the last bit of my rod, was the reel and the rods up in the air and gone straight in the water. So like basically, because of the tension, because I had the rod tip slightly up, it's basically popped out log rest, me rod rest that jag do. It's because it's not pushing forward, is it? It's to allow it to grip. It's basically pulling vertical because you've got the rod tips up. If that makes sense. So you're basically like the
down,
rod's just like popping out the rip.
Yeah. They're not good for that.
It's pulled
position.
down. So in hindsight, it's popped the rod back out. So I've literally, just as I've got a foot away from my rod, like I've just reached out. Like, you sit there and think, what the fuck do you do? You're like, fuck, like, do you know, I've literally instantly reeled the other rod in, and like I'm looking at where the fuck this rod's gone. Like this is over. This is the annoying thing. This is why I think I've caught. I had one of the big ones in it because I'm obviously a small fish one. Do it. Well, I don't know. A spicy little male common would probably do that. They fight like stink as well, but it was a full moon, clear sky, full moon. The whole lake was lit. Like, I love that moonlight, twilighty sort of view of the lake, mate. When you can see everything, but it's jet black. Do you know what I mean? It's sick. But I'm looking at the lake's water, thinking, where the hell's this fish? Where the hell's this fish? Hoping to see like a trail of bubbles to like where we like bottom. And all I've seen is a big swell by the edge of the island, and I'm like, that's got to be the carp. So I've literally bumped the rod in quickly. I was fishing helicopter starts with the quick link at the end, so I pinged the lead off and put one of them marker leads on. The ones that like they got the prongs poking out of it, giving me hopefully a greater chance of hooking up on the line. Just cast it towards the island where this fish just swelled, and I've hooked into the rod straight away. I'm thinking, buzzing, here we go. And I'm like reeling it in, and I could feel, it was really weird because I'm fishing with braid, you can feel literally everything. So I'm feeling the rod coming from one direction, I'm feeling the fish coming from the other, like pulling back. So I'm like reeling it in, and I finally got the line, basically the other rod's line in my hand. So I'm like thinking, well, what the hell do I do? I can't hand reeling by with a fish that's like weeded up. Do you know what I mean? I need to do something. So I pulled in as much as I could, wrapping it around my hand, cut the line. So I've still got the fish on the end of the line, cut the other line, and I've like basically back-to-back grinnered with the other line. So basically I've just joined the two lines together. So I've like spun in all the slack whilst I've got the line that's leading to the rod by my feet. See, I'm reeling all the slack, and the fish is weeded up. I'm like, sound, there we go. So I'm like playing this fish, and long story short, it came off the way it's typical. I was like, sod that, don't even care. I just need my rod back now. So I've like brought the rod in, chucked the rod on the bivvy, and I've gone down to grab the line, and I'm like, where the fuck is it? And I'm like, no. So I'm like digging around, managed to find it, and I'm pulling this rod back in, and it's got snagged on something. I'm like, all right, it's a massive rod. It's 30-pound braid. This thing ain't going to snap. Gave it one target, line snaps. I went, you joking? So now I've got a rod embedded in some weed there. And I'm thinking, oh, for fuck's sake. So in the morning, I've cast the rod back out. And the beauty of this thing is, I cast the rod back out. Well, no, sorry. I took all the remaining line off until I got to the knot, cut the line, retied the leader back on, and got the rod back out. And then I ended up having like the most nicest mirror, about 20-something pound out of there. And I was buzzing with that. And I was like, right. So I've called up Dave, the owner, and he's come in with a punt. And we're like trying to find this rod for flipping hours. It's long gone. Now I've got the nickname on this bloody syndicate as Two Rod Tom because I've lost one of the rods. Like, it's the most aggravating thing. I'm like, I still get taken a piss out of it. It was like a year ago. And everyone still calls me it. But the reason why I love that lake so much, although it's got some funny stories behind it, but like, I just love the style of it. It's proper choked with weed and all this. Like, it's wicked water. And like, I had this system going. Yeah, if I hooked into a fish and it weeded me up, because 9 times out of 10 it would. There was a tree right next to me. So what I'll do is, I would slacken off a bit, rest the rods against the tree. I'll climb up the tree, grab the rods from the rod tip, put it up to me, because you need that high elevation.
Yes, nice.
I would read it up.
Very nice.
Yeah, literally. So that's how I was doing it. So they call me Monkey Boy on there now. So I climbed up this rock. I climbed up this tree. I'm not fucking around with you. Like, by the time I got to the top of this tree, the rod tip was about 5 foot low from me. So I was about nearly 20 foot up in the air. So I've like reeled in all the slack, and mate, every single time the fish would just pop out the way, like pop, and that's it. And I'll just play the fish until it got into the margins. Jump down on this like hillside. How the hell I didn't break my ankles? I don't know. And then, that was it. That was my routine every time. And I've done that about 8 times during the night. Like, all sorts.
Good angling, mate.
Yeah, mate. So everyone calls me Monkey Boy on there now. So, it was funny. I love that word. But yeah, getting to them fish. Basically, I was putting a lot of time on this Alder Lake, putting a load of bait. And yeah, do you know the classic saying of, loose lips sink ships? Yeah, that was... I opened my mouth and someone got on my spot. And I was like, do you know what? He probably wasn't even like that. He probably just saw the fish there and good angling on every fish for him sort of thing. So I didn't say it like that. I was effing and blind and under my breath, but I walked off. Because the thing is that it was pissing down with rain when I walked around there with my gear. And I just saw a bivvy there and I was like, gutted. So like, I wheeled all the way back again, called my mate Ross up. And I was like, where should I go? Because the lake that I was baiting, Alder, is too small for 2 people on there. Like, it's a proper one-man lake on there. Like, I've seen people on there now, 3 anglers. I'm like, yeah, it's not a bit of me now. Like, I liked it because no one else knew about the lake. Everyone just left it, and it's not many waters you can do that. Put a load of bait in on the regular, and know full well that you could easily get back on that spot again. So I've called up my mate Ross, and he said to me, he goes, "Why don't you go on Linford One, which is the main lake on there?" And I was like, "Yeah, sorry, I will go on there actually." And he went, "Look," he goes, "from the car park, go to the first peg. It's called Horsefield. And then from there, mate, look into the corner. There's a peg there called Ross Bay, which is named after him. He named it after himself. It's super Harwood as well." And he goes, "If it's free, jump in there, mate. The fish on that lake are really peggy. So if you get in that peg, mate, you are guaranteed a bite." And I was like, "All right, sound." So I've gone on there, and it was free. So I've like quickly grabbed my gear, wheeled it all around there. The path there was flooded, so I got absolutely soaked. So like, because of the rain, so like I was like, "Sod it, keep going." All my bed chair, because of the way the wheel was on my barrow, it was just spraying that water up against my bed chair, and I was like, "Fuck's sake!" So like everything that could go wrong on that day went wrong basically. Got in there, and he goes to me, "Right, towards your right, obviously is the mouth of the bay. Fish always hold up in those areas. Do you know when you're on a lake and you always get out of bounds, and you know full well, no matter the rain or shine, them fish are in them out of bounds." And that's exactly the case with this one. And so like, he goes, "A lot of people cast just off of it," and I was like, "All right, sound." Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm a right little ballsy little like angler. Like, he said to me, he goes, "Right, there's a massive snag next to that bay. Just come 5 foot off of it." And I was like, "Right, sound." I was going 2 inches off of it. Like, I was like, "I'm getting a bite." And I was basically sat next to me rod in the chest waders, because he said to me, "The second you get a take, jump in the water, side strain it." I was getting single beeps and I was striking at it. And basically, I had a red letter day. The first fish I had was the patch carbon, which normally goes about 34 pounds. I had it just under 29. I had one of the main ghosties in there. I had a red letter day out there. Like, I had like 14 takes, and yeah, buzzing with it. I was so, and that was basically like my go-to water now, because I was really enjoying. Like, I know it ain't rock hard. It is rock hard. If you know what you do, if you don't know what you're doing, mate, it will spit you up and swallow you up. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's a weedy water as well. Like, there's obviously the clear patches that everyone fishes regularly, and so on and so forth. So I was really enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? It was full of big fish, but they were proper gnarly carp. Do you know what I mean? They're lovely to catch as well. Plus, it was just one of them waters that are like, well, just nice to fish. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was all the people on there sweet as a nut. Like, you could leave your gear there for 3 days and know full well that no one's going to touch it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of them sort of waters, isn't it? And basically, as I got to fish it, I ended up noticing that a lot of people did fish the same on there. Like 15 laps to that spot, 14 to that spot, and when I used to do my laps around there, people would obviously leave their rods up against the tree, and every time I noticed it, everyone was fishing really bright hook baits, like your typical hook baits. I fish them all the time, like your whites, your washed out pinks, your yellows, things like that.
Spring tactics.
That's exactly it, mate. But they were doing it all year round. That's the thing. Like, they were doing it a lot, and I was like, right, okay. So that kind of like sent me some thoughts, and I was like, right, okay. So I started using really dull hook baits, like match the hatch, essentially, like brown hook baits, really dull stuff, like, and that's what was giving me my bites. When the whole lake I heard that the whole lake was fishing shit, I was the only one catching because of this. Like, it was definitely an edge, 100%. And as I got to know all the spots and things like that, I was like, right, I'm starting to notice the same fish coming out all the time, and like, I'm also noticing that there's a select few that don't come out too often. And I'm like, right, okay. So I was in Ross Bay again. I had a 30-pound slate grey common. I was like buzzing with that, like really a chuff with it, proper old thing this was. And I was like, I just will not catching anymore. My mate Barney was on the opposite bank. He just had his PB. It's like massive ghosty, about 28 pounds. He was buzzing. I said to him, I was like, "Mate, come to my lake." I was like, "Look, I'll guest you. We'll double up in a peg if you want, or we'll fish somewhere near each other, mate." You go, because bless him, he's one of my closest mates, but he's sort of fishing. He loves his river carp. He loves small, proper character fish. So his PB isn't that big. Do you know what I mean? But who cares? Do you know what I mean? That's where he gets his buzz from. And he was
Doesn't matter.
That's exactly it, mate. That's why I respect him so much, because he could catch a 5-pounder and be buzzing with it. Do you know what I mean? So I said to him, I was like, "Oh, do you want to?" I was like, "Oh, what are you doing like next Wednesday? My syndicate's well quiet. Do you want to have a little social?" He's like, "Yeah, hell yeah," sort of thing. So it wasn't like a case of like, "Oh, do you want to come here and beat your PB?" It was just a case of like, "Come on, let's have a social. We haven't had one in bloody ages." Like, and that was that. So I got him a guestie, and like, he had a 28-pound ghostie, one of the 18. He was buzzing off his tits, he was. So then, but that was it. I was like, I should be getting more takes. Like the fish are in my, like I didn't know, I knew that the fish were in my area, but they weren't poshing out. But you was getting like the small little patch of bubbles here and there. And I was sitting there thinking, right, I'm in this peg. I've had 2 people come up to me in the space of an hour, like, oh yeah, fish 15 wraps here, 15 wraps there. Like they're the spots that always get fished, and the same fish, if not no fish, always get caught. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to fish in the dirt. I'm going to fish in the dirty stuff. I'm going to fish in the thickest weed that I can find. So about 4 rod lengths to the right of this main spot that everyone fishes, it was choked. Like, I mean, choked with weed. I casted a gripper lead out to it, and it had bloodworm all in it and snails. I was like, right, here we go. So I tied up a little. I was using krill at the time, krill stick, like sticky baits, krill pop ups. Do you know what I mean? I love their little pop ups. I don't use their boilies, but I love their pop ups. They're just nice. I like the consistency of them. And yeah, I tied one of them up, and I was using a trod rig. Now everyone on there is your typical, no disrespect to them, no disrespect to anyone else, but it was your typical Ronnie rig on the gravel. That was it, bright fluoro, sort of thing. And I was just like, no, do you know what? I'm going to fish a trod rig of about 5 foot beads, a really long trod rig, so it sits over everything, and an 8-ounce lead, because I know not 8-ounce lead, a 1-ounce lead. Because that's the thing, people get so disturbed about fishing really light leads, but if you're fishing it in the weed, and you're fishing quite,
it's heavier. Yeah, the effect of it is negated. Yeah,
that's exactly it. That 1 ounce turns into a flipping 12 ounce by the end of it. So, and the way I like to fish my trod rigs is I like to set the beads. I use them no trace beads at Corda do. I think they are sick. Every lake, if you are fishing a helicopter system, it should be that. Do you know what I mean? You could pop that bead off and the fish is free. And 9 times out of 10, when you hook a fish, when you give it a bit of slack, especially in the net, the hook ends up in the mesh anyway, so it's all right then. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I fish the trod rig, so it's like in the middle of the leg core, because then you've got, although it's leg core, but like you've got 5 foot of it. That's quite a lot of weight, but that's just enough weight just to keep not in, but like just there in the fish's lip. So it's like something to deal with. Do you know what I mean? So, and I fished it like that. Right, the dirty stuff. Everyone uses 15 millers. I went straight in with 23 millers. I was spread baiting with these donkey chokers, and I was fishing a donkey choker on the trod rig. And this is the thing. Although I've been fishing for donkey's years, I've never had what they call a typical big fish take. So like, I had my rod tip slightly up, fishing a dead slack line because of you fishing a trod rig. And all I remember seeing is the Neville going beep, beep, beep. And I've literally looked towards it, and the rod's just ever so slightly arced over. And it's just getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. I went, holy shit, that's a fish. And the line just clipped out the line clip. And it was just like, by the time I got to the rod, that was it. Do you know what I mean? I hooked into this fish. And it was that typical big fish fight. Like, it just stayed low. It weren't ratty. It weren't like going everywhere. It weren't taking line. It was just thud, where the fish had just slowly shaking its head, throwing its weight about. And I was reeling it in. Weeded me up about 4 times, this fish, and I plugged it out each time. Not because I was running up a tree this time, but I just keep steady pressure on it, like side straining it, and it went straight down the margins. And because you're the margin rod, you're fishing quiver tip style with a 3.5 pound Tesco rod. Do you know what I mean? So like, I'm like ducking up and under this rod whilst playing this fish. Little did I know what was on the end, and I haven't even seen this fish yet. Didn't even know it was a common or mirror yet, and I've just seen it surface. It surfaced just enough for me to see the sheer size of it, and I was like, it wasn't even like second guessing. I knew exactly what fish this was, and that's when like squeaky bum time. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like lunging, it's taking line. Like, sorry, not taking line, but the way I play my fish, I play with back wind. I don't use a clutch. I'm just not a fan of it. I like the
you're one of them.
Yeah, I love the feeling of like when your fish is bolting off and the real arms just battering against your fingers. Do you know what I mean? So yes, here we go. So I'm playing it. It's charging off. I'm letting out line as much as I can, and I'm playing it, and it's just lunging. Do you know what I mean? It's typical, like left to right. It's through every single weed bed, as you can tell. Do you know what I mean? Like, but for some reason, I fished the chod safes. Chod safe. Let's put that little device on the end of your leg core, and it drops the lead. If you're fishing heli safe, that's it.
Corda, yeah.
That's the one, yeah. Wicked little
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know the one I'm talking about? It looks like a little mini Dalek. Do you know what I mean? One of them ones like spring loaded.
Just whilst I'm talking, just watch your mic, mate. It's rubbing on your clothing quite a lot.
Oh, sorry, mate. There you go. That's a bit better, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Sorry, mate. I get excited. I start moving.
Yeah, those heli safes are awesome, mate. They game changer.
Wicked.
Game changer.
Yeah, proper wicked little things. But for some reason, just either I set it up wrong or God knows, or because I think it had quite a lot of weed wrapped around it, that it didn't have that initial pressure to drop the lead, if that makes sense. So, yeah, basically the lead was still on, and it had a big ball of weed over it, and I was like, oh my God. So, like I'm playing it, and it's literally just gone over the net cord. And this is the funniest thing about it. It's just gone over the net cord, and the rig's popped out. And I've literally just netted it. I went,
oh no.
Oh, do you know when you're like, your name is written on a fish?
Yeah, it's
like,
on that.
I was like,
you got it.
Mate. I was like, fuck it out. And like, my mate Barney's watching me the whole thing, and he's just like put his thumbs up to be like, he's fishing on the opposite side of the lake, so, and he's like put his hand up as like a thumbs up to be like, good, isn't it? And I've just like yelled it. I went, like in a girlish voice, I think it's the big one. And he went, sound, and he goes, I went, I think you might need to run down here, mate. I need help with this one. So like he's legged it round, and the funniest thing about this is like just before I had that take, it was scripted, because I put the phone down and the rod's gone off. But basically, I was on the phone to Pizza Hut, and I was getting them to deliver a pizza for me and my mate. And just as I've netted it, and Barney's come round, and I'm sitting there chatting away to him, and I've got it on the mat, and we've weighed it, and he was like, mate, that's like 39 pound 8 ounces. I went, fuck off, what? Like, and I looked at it, I went, oh, no, not 39, sorry, 38 pounds. And I was like, what? I was like, holy shit, like obviously buzzing off your tits and that. And then my phone started calling, and I'm thinking, oh, probably one of my mates. Looked at it, and it was like an unknown number. I went, oh shit, that might be the police delivery geezer. And I've answered, I went, hello, and he was like, hello, sir, like, I'm at the gate. And I was like, shit. And I've like looked at Barney, I went, it's the pizza geezer. But obviously Barney's never been there, so he doesn't know where to go. Otherwise I would have said to him, like, oh, can you go grab that? So he like put the fish back in the net, stuck it back in the water. And I'm like, just guard that with your life. And I've like legged it round there. I'm out of breath, mate. Like I used to smoke like 40 a day, like ages ago. I've got to the field in it just to get to the car park. And I'm like, but then I've got there, and the geezer's not there. And I'm like, called him up. I went, you're right, mate. He goes, sorry, I'm lost, mate. Whereabouts are you? I went, oh shit. So I'm like, had to get this, because apparently they use a work number. So I said to him, I was like, look, mate, give me your actual number, and I'll WhatsApp you my actual location. And he was like, oh, good idea. I've done that. That was a massive palaver. And then turns out it was 10 minutes away. So I've had to wait for him. He's finally come, and he's obviously noticed that I'm out fishing. He goes, oh, have you had any big uns, mate? And I went, yeah, mate, I've actually got to go, mate. I've got like a 40 pound common in it. He went, oh yeah, and he obviously didn't have a clue what. Like he was like, oh, good luck, mate. And he's like gave me this massive stack of pizzas and like chicken wings and all sorts. And I'm like legging it, but like what a way to like what a victory. Do you know what I mean? Like celebrating. Like I'm like running across this field with like a stack of blue pizza boxes, and I'm like stuck them in my mate's peg, legged it round there. I went, well, at least we've got food on the way back. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing. And I'm like, yeah, done the photos, and it was the well, obviously typical one. It is the big common. It normally goes just over 40, but I had it slightly spawned out. 38 pound 1 ounce, I think it went. Yeah, so
lovely.
It was wicked, mate. But like, because my mate Barney, he done class shots. Because even though he hasn't never picked up a proper camera, like a proper DSLR, I've got a Canon 6D Mark II and a Samyang 50mm 1.2 lens, which is a load of words.
A Canon 16 was that?
6D, so like number 6. D.
Oh mate, that was like a
special
16.
edition.
I was like, woof, that's going back, because they're on like 80 odd.
Yeah, 80. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so basically I've just given him like this mad camera and lens sort of thing. And he's just like a bit overwhelming for like used to an iPhone taking photos. So I've kind of like set him up on a tripod, set all the settings and that, because it ain't an autofocus lens, it's manual focus. So I've had to like have a play around with it for him. And I said to him, I was like, right, if I hold the fish up, it's got a flip round screen as well. So I was like kind of like framing myself up. And I was just saying to him, like, right, it was basically my own personal intervenometer. Like, I was saying to him, like, press the button now, press the button now. And I was just sitting on the stage, I was like, look, mate, just go fucking trigger happy, mate. And there's bound to be a couple good shots in there. And
that
yeah,
6D is an interesting camera because it like we're moving on to photography now, but
yeah, 100%.
it doesn't fall like within any kind of brackets. It's almost like a go-between camera. But
Yeah, it's a funny one. Yeah, like
yeah,
this, the original 6D is like, it was almost like, what can I compare it to? It's a bit like the Tracker Tempest trolley. Everyone's had one at one point. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
do you
like,
reckon?
yeah, 100%. I know so many people have had that camera. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
but like they got rid of it. But like, I've got the Mark II version. It's
It's
such
not a
a
5D. It ain't a 5D. Put it
It's
that
not
way.
5D. Yeah,
No.
it's not a single. It's not the like the best of the best, but it's like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
good camera. I love it, mate.
Yeah.
It does everything I want to do with it. It's a great filming camera as well.
Yeah.
It's like any form of photography as well. It's like it's all about the lens as well. Like
100%.
yeah, like it's I love my like most people use Canon, most people use like, well, I mean, it doesn't really fall in that sort of category of lenses, but I love Samyang lenses. Like they're
Really?
yeah,
Never
I'm a
done it.
huge
Never
I'm
been there.
not. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm a huge fan of theirs. Like, I really am. Like, I use their 14mm f point 2.8 from the astrophotography. It's a proper. It's a wide angle lens, but it isn't like
4mm.
14mm.
Oh,
Sorry.
14. Okay.
Yeah, I want to get an 8mm, like a fisheye lens, just to like
Mhm.
you could get proper like sick little shots of that. But yeah, I use that for my astrophotography because you don't get a lot of like vignetting around the sides, like what they call like basically if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's like dark shadows in the corners of the picture because the sensor hasn't got like isn't like yeah, it's a funny one. But it's also like it doesn't lose sharpness around the edges as well. It's a 14mm is a good astrophotography lens, but if you go into like the lower bracket, like your 10mm, your 8mm, and all that, like, you get a lot of that. Like if you look around the sides and not as in focus as the middle shot, do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. But yeah, I love photography as well. But yeah, that's the story behind the big carbon. So yeah, it was the queen of the, but that's what I'm saying. Like it be basically not the tip I'm giving you, but like just a bit of advice. Like I'm not a big fish angler. Like compared to other people, I haven't caught that many big fish, but without sounding like a tit, I know my shit, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, you do.
but
I can tell.
basically, how can I put this here? Like, say, them YouTubers that are carp anglers, like well, carp full-time anglers, those Carl and Alex, right? They said it perfectly. You do the same thing, you get the same results, all right? So, like these fish, yeah, like the way I see carp. Well, I had this theory before Corda done their underwater filming, and they had this theory of like different carp like different things. Like I learned that at a very young age from these two wicked anglers in the Isle of Wight when I used to go down there quite a lot on holiday and things like that. I guarantee it, absolutely guarantee it, and everyone will notice this, will know this as well. They will experience this. There's a lot of carp out there that I guarantee do not like mainline cell boilies, sticky baits krill, all these mad baits. I can prove it. Right? There's it's just in their character. They just don't like the taste of boilies. But these certain carp, are the ones that go years and years and years without getting caught.
Yeah.
These are the carp that get slipped up on like things like maggot, a bait that they get so underused and things like that. Like, and that's the thing. Like, if you want to catch the more difficult carp, you can't do the same as everyone else because then you get the same results. The only reason these carp get caught once, 4 times a year, 5 times a year, is because they're facing the same angling techniques all the time. They're not going to get caught in it. Like that big common that I caught the other day. That carp doesn't get caught. That doesn't get caught. And I guarantee if I put a boilie in front of it, it probably would have fucking sod that. I don't know exactly what that is. But the fact that I put a big ball of maggot on it, it just looked like its natural feed. That's why it took it with such confidence. That's why that linear that doesn't get caught all the time, it got caught on a freaking bit of bread. That's why it made a beeline for it because it knew it was safe. Do you know what I mean? If I put a fucking bright fucking chodrig on the end of it, it wouldn't have, I guarantee I wouldn't have caught it. Like another prime example. Jesus Christ, what else was I going to say? Right, Stanborough Lakes. There's a fish in there called another big common in there. That very rarely comes out. Match anglers catch it more often than not because they're using tiny little micro pellet. Do you know what I mean? Like it's never been. It very rarely gets caught on. It gets caught on the surface all the time on bread. Things like, but it never rarely gets caught on the bottom. That's what I'm saying. Like, and I knew this from day dot. And then, but the underwater film that Corda done, just proved it, confirmed it for literally everyone who else had this theory and things like that. Like, if you want to be different, if you want to catch the better fish or the fish that don't get caught often, you've got to be different. And that's why I caught that comment, because I fished in the dirty stuff. I didn't fish the going spots. I didn't fish a runny rig with a fluoro pink gooed up hook bait. No disrespect to that at all, because I freaking love them goes as well. They're wicked, they are. But that's what I'm saying. I caught it on a dulled brown hook bait that was sat amongst this shitty thick-sided weed, and I was fishing a 23mm boilie over the top. Like, what angler does that? Just pure blatant of something that was so obvious that a fish couldn't have turned down, but because it was sat in the weed, it was so bloody obvious. It's almost like it couldn't have been an angler's rig, if that makes sense. Like, they say chod rigs are like a big fish rig, which they are. I totally agree with that. But how can I put it? Like, Elliot Gray proved it as well, saying that, like, if something is blatant as it is sitting on a clear spot, little fish can see it clear as day, but the big carp, they just see it as normal because of the sheer size. Like, I think he said it as like a pea to a baby is massive, but a pea to a human is tiny. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's basically what I'm trying to get at. You got to be different. You got to be daring to do that sort of thing to get different results, if that makes sense. Like, and that's purely the reason why I caught that fish. And I know that for a fact, because that carp doesn't come out too often. Yeah, it come out just after lockdown, but that's because, well, did you notice that as well? Like, a lot of the A team, a lot of the big fish in most lakes got caught straight after lockdown, because they had that 3-month break. Do you know what I mean? It went back to they say the close season from back in the day, and obviously way past my fucking era, but like, yeah, so that's also it. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, in a long-winded story, basically my advice is just, if you want to catch different, mate, be different. Like,
exactly, that's it. Yeah, and you're right, mate. It was like a shitty close season. I'm saying shitty because, you know, a lot of people didn't play by the rules. Whereas it's funny, you had a close season and people play by the fucking rules, don't they?
Yeah, it's weird, that, isn't it? But I think that's just no disrespect to anyone my age, but that is just purely because of my different generation. Like, people who are a lot older than me, like probably a lot older than me and you, who had that who experienced the close season like during their like matured angling years, that knew what he was doing. They were probably thinking, yeah, sweet, it was just normal to them. But like, I mean, I was, don't get me wrong, I was bloody tempted to fish during lockdown, but I chose not to. Amy mum would have disowned me, but she also said, but like, I was pre-baited. Do you know what I mean? Which was actually within the rules of what they set us. Do you know what I mean? You had an hour's lot, and I was in and out within an hour. Do you know what I mean? I was doing my bit, but that's the thing though. Like, it wouldn't have felt right at all. Like, it's not really not worth. Is it really worth going out your way, breaking not only the fishery rules but also the law to go catch a fish that you can't even post it? I'm not really funny. I catch a lot of carp and I don't post often, but like, you can't even show anyone. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but is it worth even getting caught? Like, because then you just make yourself look like, I'll see you next Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? Like, I did see a lot of people do it, and I didn't agree with it. But like, do you know what I mean? You're your own person. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, but yeah. But to be honest with you, I think it done the world of good. If I'm honest, I'd be totally up for a close season. Totally. Could you imagine, like, it'd be like a kid at Christmas. Do you know what I mean? Like, holy shit, we're going fishing next week. Like, after 3 months, like it's. And I love the fact that a lot of syndicates are doing it now. They're like at the start of the close season, you draw for pegs and you can bait up as much or as little as you want, but you get that first peg. Do you know what I mean? You get to pick your peg.
That's nice. Yeah.
And for your first session, do you know what I mean? Whether that be a 4-day or a 3-day or whatever. And it's like, yes, sweet. And you can go there so comfortably, bait up as much as you want, and leave there knowing full well that you're going to be the first person there. Like,
I like that. I think there's so many different nuances. I like that. And this is totally different, but I also like a 48-hour rule where it's like, you have a fucking swim, 48 hours, that's it. There's crossovers where you merge those two things and you're like, well, it doesn't quite stack up, but it kind of fucking does. I
totally agree with you, mate.
Depends on the water, depends on the angler. It just fucking depends, doesn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, mate. You get so many people that like camp like mad.
I've got that problem, mate.
Oh,
so Pete will be Pete's. funny. Me and my usual co-host Pete. He's got the same issue. We've both got this fucking area pumping. I've been dedicating serious time to driving out towards there, and I've been baiting it up with this, that, and the other. And there's this guy decided to drop on there he's doing 5 nights. So look, on one hand, fucking hell, fair play to him. Like, good for you. You could do 5 nights.
Yeah, gee, I wish I
Enjoy
could.
yourself. It's amazing. But
But
when it's
don't hog it.
happening on my spot, yeah, I'm like, what? I don't like that. And
Yeah, I know what you mean. I
it's
mean,
it's
sorry.
difficult. It's so difficult.
Yeah,
Very
proper, mate. But
difficult.
I don't know about you though, but I know this sounds really bizarre because I love fishing so much, but I get bored after 3 days.
I can't do it.
I can't
Look,
do
I
it
was
either. I
saying
can't
this to
do
Pete.
it.
Yeah, I can't do it. Mate, 24 hours past that, I'm like, I need to go and find them. Like,
Yeah.
I'm terrible. Yeah.
Unless you're hitting it off, unless I'm bagging up, I'm like, yeah, I could do this for another day or so. But if I'm sat in a peg for like 2 days, I'm like, well, fucking not even. I'm bad for it. If I don't see a fit, if I'm sitting in the peg for 6 hours and I haven't seen one, I'm moving. I don't care if I'm there for a
Here,
week or not, mate. I'm
yeah.
off.
Here's the thing, right? You're fishing a kind of low stock water. There's 70 acres, 40 fish. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
something along them lines. Yeah,
That's fairly low. It's not super low stock.
no,
It's not, but it's pretty fucking low stock.
yeah, proper mate. It is hard going.
If you've been somewhere and you've been past that hour, though, they're generally at a certain time of year on a certain water. There's a few hours they tend to be feeding a little bit more vigorous. If you've passed that and you've not had anything, and there's nothing to indicate that they're there, and maybe they've got away with it, if there's nothing to indicate that, you need to fucking move. If that can't happen, it's just fucking boring. It becomes camping. And then it's lovely. You got the birds, you got the nature. That's awesome. I really enjoy that side of it.
Yeah.
But you're probably not going to be catching them then, so you need to move. I'm the same, mate. I get itchy feet. I have to move.
Yeah, same as him. I don't know if it's the ADHD in me, mate, but I can't keep still. I'm terrible. Honestly, mate, I'm awful for it. But like, I've got nothing against people that do it at all because that at the end of the day, it gives me. I know it sounds really cocky-ish, but people that fish that stack it, stack it. What's the word? Oh God, static. That's the word. Yeah, static way of fishing. That's only given me an edge because I'm the one that's going to be hogging all my gear halfway around the lake to get on the fish, and that's when I catch them. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm like that. That's I've got nothing against people like that because it does benefit me in a way. But like also at the same time, it's like, I mean, to be fair, mate, a lot of anglers probably just go fishing just to get away from them. As horrible as it sounds, get away from their missus and all this, like just day and day normal life. Just get outside, and that's a fair place. If you get a buzz out of it, then thinking, I wish I did, but I'm there to catch fish. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to, like, I don't, it, like, I start getting moody if I know I'm not on fish. Like, it kind of ruins my session a bit if I'm like, I'm not on fish. I can't afford to sit and wait. I want to make it happen. I want to, even if I'm pre-baiting all the time. This is the thing, especially when people pre-bait all the time. Like, I used to be quite bad for it, but I see a lot of people do it. If they're pre-baiting a spot, they are advocate that they are going to fish that spot. What I do is, I bait up a couple of spots, and if I can see fish aren't there, I'm not going to fish on top of it. I'm not. Like, I'll go elsewhere. Like, I remember I baited like that spot I was talking about in lockdown, like when I was baiting up. When it came to fishing it, there was fish there. But when I came back the next day to fish it, there was nothing there. I didn't even bother setting up a rod. I was like, no, they're not there. I'm not going to fish there. Like, although they have been fishing there, and it's more likely they will visit, but they're not visiting it now whilst I'm there. So I'm not going to fish there. Do you know what I mean? They're obviously somewhere else. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's you got to be mobile. Like, I know it's a very cliche, and it's probably, we sound like a broken record. So many other people have said it, but it's such a key factor. You can't fish for fish that ain't there. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to locate them. That's like, I recently invested in with Nashi's scope gear. Oh mate, it is a game changer. Anyone who's got it will know about it. I love it. I do.
That's Pete's domain. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, mate. Honestly, for that sort of water, it's wicked. But it's really funny. 70 acres of water, choked with weed. You won't think for a second they're in the margins. They are in the margins, mate. They love it in the margins. They spend more time in the margins than they do in the middle of the lake, which bizarre to me because I'm thinking all that pressure. You know what I mean? But like, so like I'm doing laps and laps of this lake. Like on average, I'm doing that lap. I'm lapping it about 3 times. So I'm walking about God knows how many miles a day just to locate them. And once I've located them, it's one rod jobby, mate. I'm on it, done, bosh. And if I catch them, I catch them. Most of the time, I don't because they're riggy little bastards. But after sometimes, very rarely, I do hook one. But yeah, that's it's okay. It's a funny one, yeah, mate. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, 100%. Stay mobile.
Yeah, you're not there to go fishing. You're there to go and catch fish, and I think there's a big fucking difference between that. There's nothing wrong with each, but you are very much there to, okay, here's my prizes. It's X, Y, and Z. I'm setting my stall out to go and catch them. I'm going to make it happen. How did you manage to click into that mindset? That bloody mindedness?
Well, mate, I started off like anyone, mate. Like I was keen as mustard to catch as many carp as do because I just loved catching fish. Didn't matter where I caught it from. I just loved that sick feeling of when like you're sitting there on your phone doing absolute naffle, just probably trawling on Facebook, and you get that screaming take of like a mid double, and it's the most exhilarating thing ever. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sick as in good.
Sick as in good. Sorry,
you
yeah,
not explain like, it, mate.
Sorry. And yeah, basically, it's like, and that's how it was. So I was buzzing just catching little ones, and how I got into that mindset was, well, to be honest with you, mate, it was like a where was I fishing? Right. There's a club water called Verulam Angling Club. All right, it's based in St Albans in Hertfordshire, and basically you get loads of lakes, mainly rivers, in Hertfordshire where I'm from, and one of them is called Moor Mill. And I started fishing that probably about so I started proper carp fishing at the age of like 15, 16. I jumped on there when I was about 17. It was actually where I've done my first ever night fishing with my brother Ryan and his best mate Chris. I done my first ever night there, sleeping on the hard ground whilst my brother had a bed chair on a sleeping bag from fucking Argos. That was like paper thin in winter. Like, definitely not my idea of fishing. But I was like, that was my first ever night, yeah. And do you know what reminds me? I don't know why I'm gone onto that subject, but it's something that has mentally scarred me in a weird way. But all I remember smelling when I was in that poxy tent is this glug that my brother had. I don't know what one it is. Still, I've never smelled anything that made me feel like, oh, that was definitely that one. Like, God knows what it was. I just remember that as well. But there was basically this place called Moor Mill, wicked water. And it was basically Terry Hearn done a bit of time on one of the lakes there called the Lever Lake. And it was basically this gaff called Moor Mill. It used to be called Frogmore. And it held Toadless, which was the Frogmore lever.
I know that, yeah.
Yeah, you know the one.
I do.
It was there, mate. And I actually seen that fish with my own eyes before. And bless it, man. It was like 40 pound. It was the second biggest lever in the country. Like, big names had fished that water, especially after Terry Ann had it, and he wrote about it in Searching Shadows or Catching Shadow. I don't know the name of the book, but I need to purchase that book and read it. But yeah, so like it's basically Terry Ann done a load of time in there, so it's got a lot of history there. And bless it, this carbium went over 40 pound, then it died at like 14 pound. Like, this fish was just, it had nothing wrong with it. It was just such an old carp, man. Like, it was a gorgeous fish as well, proper true English. I say English very loosely. English leather. Do you know what I mean? Like, proper, just a gnarly fish, man. Rare as hen's teeth. This fish was, and so yeah. And I remember like fishing the Island Lake. Now, this lake's about 6 acres, so not massive, but decent size. Guys, this lake had like 21 islands. You could only fish about 60% of the water because the rest of it was like a mini rainbow, bruv. Like, you like I say, you can only fish 60% of the actual water because most of it is just in between channels of islands that you can't even get to. You can't even see half the time. Like, the only bit of visual you get is from Google Earth. Do you know what I mean? So, and the reason why I'm getting onto this subject is because I remember fishing in the part of the lake and there was just no fish there. But being a young angler, you just assume that, oh, that's a good peg. I'll cast there. Maybe I'll have something. Do you know what I mean? You don't really have that mentality of like, location is key. You need to hunt them. Do you know what I mean? Like, you always have that like
I don't know, like you go to a particular peg, you cast at that particular spot, and you'll have one. Do you know what I mean? There's no searching involved. It's just like you just know that peg's a good peg. So, and that was that. And I was like, nah, like, and I just weren't feeling it. Do you know what I mean? It went all day, all day. I got there at like 8 o'clock. Bless her, my mum got me there for like 7:30. And by the time I got set up, it was like 8 o'clock. And it came to like, this was in the height of summer, and it was like 5 o'clock. So I've spent the whole day in this peg, recasting, baiting up, couldn't have anything. And I just remember seeing a fish bosh out about 4 or 5 pegs down in a peg called the Social. It's basically like a double peg, but you can fish it as one or a pair. And I remember boshing them out there, so I've moved. So I was like, right, I'll go for it. I'll see this fish there. I'll go for it. Just packed all my gear up. Didn't have a barrow there because I was still young. Couldn't afford one. So I've carried all my gear around to it. Like, done about 8 trips because started angling for them, and I had like 4 out. So just from that one bit, although I only moved like 4 pegs, I still had that. I planted the seed there. That was definitely the catalyst of my searching and trying to find them, start of fishing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that was definitely it. Like I say, that was definitely the catalyst of what all this is. And I've done it the other day, like when I was in Milton Keynes. Like, I was in a peg, I was in the pickled horsefield, weren't feeding it at all. And the geezer next door moved out. He had 1 fish. I was like, right, he's had more action than me. He's had a fish. The fish are clear. The wind's pumping in there. I need to move. I'm not happy in this peg at all. Like, the second I got in that peg, I was miserable as fuck. I was like, I'm not happy there. But it's literally only peg 3, and I got no choice. All the other lakes are Ramo. All the other one I love so much, that was packed. Couldn't go anywhere. And I was there for 4 days. So I was like, no, do you know what? So I'm going to wait here. And then, he moved. I don't think he even got past. He got in his car before I even got all my gear in there. And I literally stepped foot in there, fizzing not fizzing everywhere, but there was fizzing on a certain spot. I was like, sound. And that turned into like a bit of red letter day. First fish I had was just a small mirror. No, it was actually the little ghosty at like 24 pounds. And then after that, I had the black eye common, another 8. I had 3 A-teams in a session. Like, that's just on fucking like red letter day. Do you know what I mean? I had a 30-pound common called the black eye common, and after that, I had the only leather carp that was in there, and another rare one to the visitor, but that normally goes 30 pound, but I had it at 24 pound. And then I had like a no little common, and I lost one as well. So just from, again, only just moving, like, it just proves that you have to be on fish. Like, you're either bloody jammy, or you just like, or you're just lazy. Do you know what I mean? To like catch one on the fluke. Do you know what I mean? Where you just set up at a peg and you just cast out and you have one. Do you know what I mean? But that's just fishing, though. Do you know what I mean? You're going to like, maybe like the fish are going over you at that particular time. It is just pot luck half the time, like when you do catch that way. But then again, some lakes are really peggy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I keep referencing Stanbrook because loads of people mug it off. I don't know why, but I absolutely love it. It was where I caught my first proper carp. Do you know what I mean? And for a lot of people as well. But like, there's a peg on there called Peg 1. We have like a lot of banter on that lake and say Peg 1's cheating, because you go in that peg, mate, you're guaranteed about 10 fish straight away. Do you know what I mean? But that's because you're the closest one to the out of bounds. So that again, it's a form of location is key, because you have to be in that peg because you are the closest to those fish that know that they're safe in there. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about location and things like that. Like, that's basically where it started. It started off on the lake that, it's still going strong now. I do need to buy another ticket because I got so many good memories on that lake. Plus, I didn't have any of the big ones. It took me 4 years to catch a 20 out there. I caught every single figure and double figure carp out that lake. I swear to God, I didn't catch a single 20-pounder after about 4 years. And I'm having my friends that are joining. They have on my first fish. I'm like, are you bloody kidding me? Like, I was just unlucky, like proper unlucky, but it was cracking me up. But there's like I said, there's 3 30s in there that rarely come out. And I think the biggest one in there is about 34 pounds. But again, they're just old fish, mate. They're not your typical like simo-y, scaleless fish. These fish are raw, mate, like proper, like, it sounds bad, but it kind of adds to the character. But a lot of them have got quite, not fucked mouths, but like, you can tell them in hooked a few times because it's so bloody snaggy.
I don't like that. But
I
know what you're saying. They're characters. They're quirky.
That's exactly it. Yeah, they're raw. Do you know what I mean? That's the best way I can describe it. They're raw because you're fishing such a snaggy water that you know they just that they haven't been caught a few times. But
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah.
It's not my thing. Yeah, I'll be honest.
100%. I'm the same, mate.
Like I'm clean. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying as well, mate. Like it's like, oh, don't. I said to one of the bailiffs, like, I caught this carp, and it was a small common, mate, but it looked like, do you know that film Predator, when it's got that? It looked like that, mate. You could see its jaw, bruv. I was like, I looked at him, I was like, mate, there's a river behind me. Can I just put it in that, mate?
Yeah, retire it. Just retire it.
That's exactly it. And that's another thing why I love about the syndicate of Milton Keynes, Dave, the owner, he's got a retirement pond. It's in the back of his garden. It's a small lake. It's about half an acre. But he's got about 9-10 30s in there. He's got
fenced or not?
Yeah, it is now, because it did get
amazing.
It did get the other day. Yeah, I should tell a lie. He has had it fenced recently.
That's beautiful. That's amazing.
I love that, mate.
Love it.
He had a common in there that's called Dunks that it got caught 4 times in 3 weeks, and he was like, the next person who has that fish, keep it, and I'll put it in that lake.
Gotta go.
Yeah, he's got loads of fish in there that are just happy as Larry. And he goes, and like, that's what I'm saying. That's their retirement home. Out of 13 lakes, there's all the carp all come from different lakes in there. If they start looking a bit rough in there, like I put one in there recently. Like I caught this carp. It had a broken fin. Its mouth was a bit fucked. And I called him up. I was like, Dave, mate, it won't feel right, me putting this fish back in this lake. He goes, no. Nope, keep it there, mate. I'll be there in 10 minutes. And within 5 minutes, mate, it was there with the back of the truck with a pole in the back of it. He goes, stick it straight in there, mate. I'll put it straight in there, mate. And there you go. We'll call it. And he even said to me, he goes, we'll call this one, what was it? What's the name of the Hunchback of Notre Dame? What's his actual name? I don't know what his name is.
No idea.
Yeah, but he called it that. He named it after that because this thing was a bit of a fucking weirdo.
How did you get your nickname? The gun.
Which
Tommy the Gun. Tommy the Machine Gun. Tommy the Gun.
You're the only person that's called me that.
many monikers, mate.
You're the only person I know that has called me that. You know that.
Do you know what? I was looking at my people don't give a fuck. They're going to be like, "Oh, shut up, Sam." But I was looking at my life in angling, and I was thinking, what mark do I want to leave on this place? I want to be known for creating your moniker, the gun.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. That's my ambition now. Fuck it. That's honestly what I want to do.
I love that, mate. I don't know. My philosophy of life is definitely the person to annoy everyone. I suppose I'm the typical little brother syndrome, mate. Like, no wonder I've got so many ex-missuses because I just piss them off. Like, wind up much. And
for those that don't know, Tommy the Gun, I called Tom Bishop. Thomas Bishop, I guess, is your full name, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah,
Tommy the Gun. If you are into the Rocky series, there's Tommy the Gun. Like Tommy the Gun is the boxer that fights Rocky in, I think it's Rocky 3. It's amazing. Oh, if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it, dude.
I'm so ashamed to say this shit, but it's such an iconic film as well. But I've never seen one Rocky in my life.
Tommy. Yeah, okay.
Mate. So this thing is like loads of people call, because I'm the youngest of the family. I'm the baby of the family. It's a proper little brother name, like a little kid named Tommy. Do you know what I mean? So like I was always hardly anyone called me Tom or Thomas. I was always known as Tommy. Like that's the thing. So like I just half the time I introduce myself as Tommy. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just what I'm used to. Do you know what I mean? So a bit of a weird thing to do, mate. It's just something I do. But like it's I suppose, I'm an annoying little brother as well, so it kind of suits my personality as well. So,
I won't go into it because it's like heavy shit. But that film, so obviously Sylvester Stallone, he obviously made all the Rocky films. There was someone who featured in it, Tommy the Gun.
Yeah,
and he was actually a real fucking boxer. And look into it. It's a real fucking sad story. So I'm not like.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it really is, mate. Honestly, it is. But yeah.
We'll keep the vibe up, and I'll look at it later.
Keep the vibe up. Look at it later. Yeah. You're named in honor of Tommy Morrison. Rest in peace.
Sweet as.
Yeah, mate.
Buzzing
on. Be proud of that. Yeah. Be proud of that. Tommy the Gun. I'm going to say you're Tommy the Gun because you just keep firing them out. You just keep knocking them off.
Thank you, mate.
Let's go for that.
Appreciate that, mate.
Let's go into some quicker fire type questions.
Hit me up. Let's do it.
Yeah. You kind of alluded to a bit of a crazy story earlier when you were at Walthamstow. Aside from that, have you had any kind of crazy stories, anything spooky, anything weird happen to you out on the bank?
Oh, I've got a few.
Go on. Hit 'em.
Oh, fuck me. Right. So me and my mate Nicky, we was fishing in a park lake in not central London, but in London. It was in the thick of it, yeah. I can't remember the name of it. Well, for this main reason, we only done one night on it. It was really funny, yeah. He was obsessed with this lake. Only had like 2 out there in about a year. And this would piss me off just as much as anyone else would. But I've rocked up, yeah, and he was like, right, I'm fishing this side of the lake because that's my favourite spot down there, and I always pick off the odd one. I was like, all right, Sam. Falls straight into the category of location is key. And I'm just seeing a fish bosh in the corner of my eye. I went, are you sure you want to fish that side, mate? The fish right there, mate. He goes, no, trust me, mate. They always come through here. And another one's boshed down, another one's boshed down. I went, right, are you, because obviously this is his lake. I want him to fish his lake. Do you know what I mean? I'm the guest. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to make, it's a bit like, I don't know, it was a weird one. It was almost like rocking up at your mate's house for the first time and helping yourself to their food without even asking. Do you know what I mean? I was sitting there saying to him, I was like, are you sure you don't want to fish there, mate? And he goes, mate, do it, mate. Trust me, mate. I will outfish you. In his words, I will outfish you down here. I went, sound as a pound. All right, flicked on I knew it was silty. It was a typical park lake. Yeah, loads of trees around it. I didn't even have to throw a marker float out there. I already knew exactly what the bottom was going to be like because of the nature of the lake. Loads of trees, loads of birds, things like that. Leaf, detritus, everything you can imagine is falling at the bottom. So I was like instantly silty. Plus, I just wanted to get a rig out there presented without any recasts, if that makes sense. So chod rig straight away out there. I was using I'm not ashamed to use to name brands here, obviously, but I was using Baitworks sent from Heavens. Now okay. I'm actually I actually do a bit of work with Mad Baits. I'm basically their product photographer and videographer. I've literally just joined, but
Tommy, you fucking I didn't know that shit. What?
Name drops right there. Yeah, literally.
Okay, all right.
So so I do that, and I'm not ashamed to name other brands. I was using Baitworks, which, mate, I'll be honest, I'm going to be totally honest, I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot, but I still got their pots of bait in my bait tubs, in my bait shed. Do you know what I mean? I love their hook baits. I love their concept behind it as well, because it's really similar to Mad Baits. They put 110% into the bait. Do you know what I mean? So I was using so before Mad, I was using Baitworks. I was using Sent from Heavens, wicked bait. I love their gear still. So I was using that, and mate, I had 3, and he was fuming. I had a really proper character fish, nice common, and then I had 2 other commons as well. And he was just there, fishless. And I was like, I'm sorry, dude. But the reason this story popped up to my head when he said weird occurrences was purely because basically they gate up the park at night. So obviously people can't come in and out. But also what the lake falls onto some grounds at the back of I don't want to say this in an offensive way, but a nut house and a sane asylum.
I'm confused, mate. So you're on a lake.
Yeah.
Break it down a little bit.
Sorry, right. So I'm fishing a park lake.
Yeah.
Which basically in central London, and it backs onto a mental hospital.
It's got fuck all to do with a bait company.
It has. I just had a massive waffle on there, and I do apologise.
Yeah. No, sorry. No, it's all right. I want to paint it out.
Yeah, sorry.
It's probably me, mate. I'm feeling fucking hammered. I've had a lot of gin. That's all.
I was gonna say.
Listeners are probably like, Sam, shut the fuck up. He's in the flow. Just let him go. Mate. Let him go. I'm sure they're saying that. Sorry, mate.
No.
From my mind, you're in a. Go on.
Yeah, so I'm in a park in London that falls, which basically there's a massive field behind it, and then there's a big white house, which is a nut house.
Yeah. So in my mind, I'm a country boy, right?
Country boy,
You're
right?
in a park in London. You got your hood up.
Obviously.
You're ready. You're ready.
Yep. Ready for a row, basically.
Ready for whatever. Ready for a row. Ready for it to kick off. Yeah.
Yes, basically, we're fishing at night. This is I'm not my mate Nicky. He's a bit of a puffhead. I don't do any of that. I can't stand that gear. It stinks.
That's marijuana, right?
Yeah, that is skunk. Yeah, vile stuff.
It.
Yeah,
Skunk. I've got it.
yeah. So like he's
Down
sitting
with
there, I'm just having a fag, just chilling in there, and we've seen two blokes come up to us with high visits, and he's like, "You're right, guys. This is at like 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, park's quiet. You can get on with that sort of thing, and I won't disturb you." So he's kind of shit himself a bit. We're both up. We're like, not expecting anyone to be walking around. He's like, "Oh, sorry, those don't mean to frighten you or that lot." We're like, "Yeah, mate, what's up?" Sort of thing. And he goes, just a warning, or just to ask you questions. I don't suppose you've seen a little girl, a little woman running around, have you? We're like,
Oh, jeez.
we're like, no, mate. Why? They're like, right. She's wearing a white coat. Just don't approach her. She might approach you, but just ignore her. Honestly, she'll go away from you. But if you do see her running through the grounds, just call the emergency services. They'll let us know, and we know that they're here. And we're like, wait, what? Like, no. Like, so I said to him, he's like, right, okay, like, sound. Basically, a fucking nutter has escaped from the hospital and is running around the lake. Now, that was probably the scariest moment ever, because I was like, sod that. So we've like zipped up the fucking, we're pairing up. He's got a double top, my mate. So we're in there, yeah. We're fucking zipped it up, mate. And we're just chatting shit in that. And all of a sudden, we just heard like your classic, like, yeah, twigs just snapped outside the bivvy, and we're like, we've turned the music down, and Gates, picture this, yeah, all we can hear is, and me and him are just looking at each other thinking, what the fuck is going on here? And all of a sudden, we've just heard someone run off. That was the hands down, yeah, the scariest fucking moment in my fishing life, because like, I mean, you see it all the time, yeah, like horror stories and that, like kicking off and that. Do you know what I mean? And like, of like a mad nutter girl who's like running around and shit. So yeah, that was definitely not my brightest of occurrences. Yeah, having a nutter outside your bivvy, thinking, what the fuck is that? Do you know what I mean?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's not that, mate. I've got one more as well. Quick one as well.
Oh, go on. Put it in.
Yeah, one more. All right, so I don't know about you. Do you believe in like UFOs and like aliens and shit?
Mixed. Don't know.
Go on anyway. Funny one as well. Yeah, so like, I'm fishing Milton Keynes, fishing in the top half of the lake, and you can see the whole body of water. And basically, and do you know when you see the back of a plane and you can just see the lights, the really high lights sort of thing, you can just see it slowly moving. And I'm looking at this plane. I'm really into my stars and that, so like my astrology and things like that. So I'm like looking at the stars and that, I can just see this big bright light moving slightly. I was like, oh yeah, like obviously.
So you're into like astronomy, or
that's the word? Yeah, I said it wrong.
or star signs, or
not really star signs. My friends are really into this star signs and things like that. To be honest with you, I just haven't read into it. I probably would be into it if I read into it, but yeah. So I'm like looking at the stars and fishing, like proper looking at it, and I just see this bright one. And obviously, Luton Airport's not far away. It's Milton Keynes, so it's not obviously you're going to see like planes and shit. And I'm just looking at this plane, and I'm just what I thought was a plane. I don't know what it was. So like it's slowly moving up and up and up, obviously flying like away from me. So I'm seeing like the back of the jet engines, if you like. And I've just seen it. This is no word of a lie. I haven't even blinked. I'm still like fixated on this light, and I've seen it shot to the side of my other side of my view, shot down and gone straight up again. And like it's just basically done like a weird triangle and then also disappeared. And I was thinking, what the fuck? Well, and I've just sat there, tea in hand, thinking, what the fuck have I just seen? Like, so it literally was going slightly up, thinking it was the back of a plane. It shot left, shot down, and then literally gone straight up, and then it just disappeared. Couldn't see it. And I was thinking, what the fuck was that? Like, proper weird thing. Like, you almost like kind of look into your tea and think, what the fuck is in this? Thinking, because like, I just tripped balls or something. Like, so I've like gone to bed really weirded out by that, like proper weirded out, thinking, what, what is someone going to come after me because I've just seen a UFO? Like, what the hell was? I still to this day don't know what it was, but the geezer next door was called bollocks, I can't remember his name. I see him down there quite often actually, but he's come into my peg. I think he knew I was awake at like 6 o'clock in the morning because I'd like cooking bacon and they probably smelled it. So he's come round with his coffee in hand. I was like, oh, how you getting on, mate? And all this. So I was like, yeah, sweet as, mate. We're chitting and chatting away. And I kind of looked at him. He went, and he kind of looked at me, sorry. He went, did you see that weird light last night? I went, oh my God, did you saw it too? And he's like, mate, that was fucking real weird, weren't it? I went, what did it do with you? And he literally described it perfectly, exactly what I saw it. And I was like, we were both like looking at each other thinking, the fuck was that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, proper weird thing. Was it an alien? Was it like UFO? Like, I don't know, but we both saw the exact same thing that night, and it was just bizarre. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I've seen loads of weird things looking at the sky because I'm so used to it. Like, I remember seeing the satellite chains. Basically, like, it was the most weirdest thing because, like, it was the first time me seeing it. Like, you see satellites all the time, like they shoot across the skyline and that, but like at a decent speed for you to actually like see it and focus in on it, just see exactly what it is. Like, there's a difference. People think they're shooting stars. They're not. Shooting stars is in and out of the atmosphere straight away. So like, you can't actually see it. You either look at it, you either see it with a blink of an eye and it's gone. Like, this thing, you can literally see it flying across the sky. And I remember seeing a satellite chain. Basically, it's basically what this space station is. It's called SpaceX. I don't know. It's something to do with that. And I just remember seeing literally 13 of them in a massive line, just going. But they were going in. It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen with technology because they were going at like, they were obviously going at like fucking the same speed as light. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were rapid, mate. They were going way quicker than what we can collaborate. Collaborate, is that the word? Calculate. I mean, like, because they are shooting across the sky, but they were going, all 14 of them are going in such a straight line, perfectly spaced between the other. Do you know what I mean? And that, I was like, wow, that was quite a weird thing to see. But to be honest with you, mate, as anglers, we all see different things, don't we? We all see, we've probably seen more things than the common person has, like. But that's also the same reason why we all go carp fishing as well, or fishing in general, especially carp fishing, because, like, I suppose match anglers, they get to the match and that's it. They're only fishing 6 hours. Pike anglers, they get there at early doors of the morning. They probably fish dawn and dusk and that's it. But like, it's different with carp fishing because you're there 24 hours. You're not moving. Well, you're at the lake for X amount of days and nights. So you see so much more. You've got so much more time to sit and appreciate. Exactly the same way how Rod Hutchinson said it. You've got time to stop and smell the roses of what's going on around you. And like, you've probably seen it. I've seen a spider weave from start to finish a whole web. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've seen barn owls take other birds out, clean, like, out of the air. Like, I've seen a heron pluck out a little freaking roach out of the water. Do you know what I mean? Like, we us as anglers, we've seen so much more than the common person. And like I say, especially carp anglers, that's probably why we go so much. Do you know what I mean? And there's nothing I appreciate more. There's nothing more that I love than going to a lake that no one else is on, and you as you're walking through, your feet are snapping twigs, you're brushing past falling leaves and things like that, and you're hearing the birds singing loads, and that's the beauty of it as well. Especially when you walk near a really naturist lake, I don't know, I notice it, but like, birds, they sing the same song. Basically, what that is like they're warning other birds that you're there. But if you just stand still and be quiet enough, you hear different songs. And it's basically birds just communicating with each other, basically. And it's such a beautiful, hypnotic thing. Do you know what I mean? You're in such a, how can I put it, like this mad entity of just nature, and you're just involved in it. You're part of it. Do you know what I mean? And it's such an amazing thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, seeing, it sounds so weird, it's such a cliche to think, but if you just stay quiet enough, you give nature a chance to speak, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? If you're just quiet, you see so much more, you hear so much more. Nature itself is presenting it in front of you, but because we're so fixated on like living our lives and things like that, or the challenge ahead, we haven't got time to stop and look. We haven't got time to stop and smell the roses. Do you know, that makes sense? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the best way I can describe it is, the more quiet you are, Mother Nature has got a chance to speak. That makes sense. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the reason why that's why the reason I love fishing so much, and I owe it a massive credit as well. Like, especially with my fishing, because of how it affects me. Like, without going too deep into it and too soppy about it, I think everyone's experienced it. But like, I had really bad depression at one stage. Like, I done some stupid shit to myself to fix that. Do you know what I mean? Well, how we think a person with depression fixes it. Do you know what I mean? If you catch my drift without going too deep into it. And that's what I love fishing so much. It's not that I do. I literally owe it my life. It's not that I owe it my life. It's just it got me out of such a dark place in my life that I will never, ever, for as long as I'm alive, I will never drop it. And I love the fact that other people appreciate this as well, like us as an angling community, because the angling community is huge. I mean, like I listened to a podcast not long ago, and it was about these doctors that set up this scheme of like people with PTSD going fishing and how much it's helped them. Do you know what I mean? Because it literally does. When you're there, well, my thing, cup of tea in hand, sitting over your bed chair, and it's just coming into that twilight zone of like going into night, and everything's just quiet, and all you can hear is just like the odd bird sing or like the odd fish crash out. Do you know what I mean? And you just get caught in this like mad energy of your life, of just being there in that moment. And it's just like, this is the reason why you go fishing. Do you know what I mean? We all experience it differently, like, but you always have that moment of like where time just stands still, and you're just like, I don't know, like it's just, yeah, you're just there. Do you know what I mean? You're just experiencing it. And that's why me and you and so many other people, hundreds of thousands of people go fishing. It's because that is just what we live for, essentially. It's our break from society. Do you know what I mean? Like, it gets rid of you just, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to finish this off, but yeah, just fucking love carp fishing.
I love it, mate. Yeah, you're fucking one in a million, mate. Honestly,
I didn't send you asleep there, did I?
You were no, I've just woken up. I'm joking. You get off onto your thing, and it's so apparent to so passionate about this and your craft, and everything that it assimilates from it. And it's lovely to listen to. Tommy,
thank you very much.
No, of course, man. You know it. We've spoken quite a few times. You've got an eye for it.
Appreciate that. Yeah, feelings very mutual, mate. Thank you very much.
yeah. To be honest with you, mate, I think to do it justice, there's so many different things that I think we could have gone into, or maybe even we should have gone into. And
part two, mate.
It would have made great listening. I think part two has to happen. There's a lot more to add, and you've definitely got a lot more to give. So I think let's cap it off. Let's call this part one, and let's hopefully get Tommy Bish, aka the Machine Gun Tommy, onto a part two. That'll be amazing.
100%, mate. It's been I've massively enjoyed it. Actually, I think I got across what I wanted to get across. So yeah, buzzing, mate. We weren't happy with it.
Mate, you let it be known. You put your point across for sure.
Legend, mate. No, appreciate it, mate. It's been it's been good.
All right, take care.
All right, cheers, mate. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Oh, Tommy.
I think that went swimmingly.
I think it went fucking amazing. Do you know what I'm regretting? I'm so pissed.
Are you?
Yes, mate. I'm fucking like, I don't know how to level this up. I'm feeling under pressure. Yeah, I feel awful.
I could see you being like, I was like, is he wankered?
Yes, yeah.
Good, mate. I wish I was pissed as well, mate. Honestly, I would have chatted a lot more shit.